Chapter 787. She could not afford to go through it again. She had lived her entire life in the past few years. She had had enough. She did not want love or affection. She only wanted a peaceful life with her daughter. He saw tears welling up in her eyes as she shivered. He started to regret it. He hugged her and shivered as well. He hugged her a little too tightly. How did she let go? How should he learn from her? Xiao Yao, give birth to a child for me. Just give birth to a child. After you give birth, you can leave with Yo-Yo. I won't stop you. Leave a child for me. She was stunned. She was stunned. She knew what he was capable of. If he insisted on something, he would not give up. You said it. Yeah. I might not be able to give birth to a son. He said gently, our daughter is good too. Okay. I need to sign an agreement with you. After you give birth to the child, I will leave. After you give birth to the child, don't let me see it. Don't let me know its gender. She had been a mother before. She knew that sometimes, a single glance could mean a lifetime. But if she did not give birth to a child for him, what would happen to Yo-Yo? Okay. As long as you give birth to my child, I will let you and Yo-Yo go. He got off her body and bent down to wipe her tears. Then he stood up straight. I'll go and draft the agreement. Xiaoya thought that Zhuang Yichen would come and touch her soon. But he did not. He only came back to have dinner with her and said some nice things to her. Ever since she signed the agreement, Zhuang Yichen brought Yo-Yo to her. He even showed her the information about the Su enterprise. Slowly, everything returned to normal. He did not forget to add, it's not easy to achieve peace. Xiao Yao, don't ruin it. She knew that he was threatening her. But as long as the Su enterprise was fine, everything was fine. She had Yo-Yo and Su Zhiyan had his career. She couldn't have everything. Li Yong tidied up Zhuang Yichen's room and kept the medical records. Young master, you don't have to go to the office for now. You just had the operation. It's okay. The doctor said that it's just a vasectomy. I can go back to work the next day. He had spent too much time looking for her over the years. Now that she was back, he had to take care of the company. Young master, since young madam has agreed to have a child. Zhuang Yichen smiled bitterly. Uncle Li, I can't let her get pregnant. You know that she's even more ruthless than me. After he finished speaking, Li Yong couldn't bear to continue. Young master, what about the Su family? Talk to their chairman. I can lend them money to get through this without interest, but they have to be responsible for taking care of Su Zhiyan. Otherwise, I won't help them in their hour of need. I will add frost to their snow. I'll go now. Zhuang Yichen knew that he was the one who had brought all of this upon himself. Xiaoya had given her heart to him back then, but he had been too careful, which had led to the current situation. He was still able to bear it, but he couldn't bear the thought of Xiaoya leaving him again. He knew that the past 2 years hadn't been easy. He had thought of many endings, but the current situation was already considered good. He knew that Xiaoya had feelings for Su Zhiyan, but more than that, she probably wanted him to be safe. Therefore, he would help with the Su family situation. Su Zhiyan had dozens of people in the Su family holding him back, so he couldn't cause too much trouble. Everyone had experienced heartache before, but everyone had different responsibilities. Su Zhiyan's responsibility was the Su family, and Zhuang Yichen's responsibility was Qiu Xiaoyao. There was no one by his side. Only her. He left the house and went to the company. He called Xia Qian and Yi Er to come over and accompany Xiaoya. Yi Er's twin sons. Xia Qian's daughter was about the same age as Yo-Yo. She was still holding the baby in her hands, and she was already pregnant with another one. She complained to Xiaoya, I don't care about the others. I really don't want to have another child, but Grandpa treats me too well. I feel like I'm letting him down if I don't have a son. The Qin family only has Fian. How can they not have a son? It's so annoying. Why didn't Dad and Mom have more sons back then? Xiaoya looked at Xia Qian's blissful face and touched her face. Qian, think more about Fian. You have to be happier during your pregnancy. In the garden, the 4 children were sweating profusely while the 3 mothers sat far away. When they came, Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian had greeted Yi Er and Xia Qian, telling them not to talk nonsense and to talk more about how to take care of the children, what to feed the children, what to play at this age, and what to teach the children in the future. In short, they weren't allowed to talk about anything other than the children. Xiaqian was no longer the Xiaqian of the past. She was able to distinguish many things clearly. Although she was always loud and imposing towards Qin Fian, she was actually willing to listen to Qin Fian's reasoning. Yi Er didn't need to say anything. She had always followed Jiang Zhao's words blindly. Jiang Zhao was her idol. If Jiang Zhao said something she couldn't say, she wouldn't say it no matter what. Time passed very quickly. Even if the women were talking about the children, they could talk for a few hours. The little boy had a strong sense of protecting the weak since he was young. Especially when his two younger sisters ran around with him, he could show the demeanor of a big brother even though they were not even 3 years old. Children forgot everything very quickly. Every day, Yo-Yo would ask for daddy. Zhuang Yichen was very careful and never carried Xiao Ya in front of Yo-Yo. Instead, he would carry Yo-Yo around the garden to play. He thought that if he wanted to be with Xiaoya for the rest of his life, Xiaoya loved Yo-Yo so much. No matter how much he wanted this child to belong to another man, he had to force himself to accept it and accept it. But he realized that he seemed to have an affinity with this child. When he saw this child smile, his eyes would turn into crescents. It was as if he saw a replica of Xiao Yao smiling. It was so cute. Sometimes when he went to work, he would think that Yo-Yo was a cute child. He would tie the knot. Actually, it was not bad for Yo-Yo to be by Xiao Ya's side. Time passed day by day. He felt that he didn't have to force himself to accept it. He seemed to have gotten used to it. The child also seemed to be happier day by day. In the beginning, she would miss Daddy so much that she cried. Now, she was clingy to him and wanted him to tell her stories. She said that Daddy would tell her stories at night and that Daddy was busy with work. Uncle would tell her stories. He would take a book and read it. Later, he slowly learned how to use his voice to tell the child stories. He watched as Yo-Yo slowly fell asleep after his voice ended. He thought, Xiao Yao, you said in the past that you would give birth to my child. But now, you gave birth to someone else's child. Zhuang Yichen didn't touch Xiao Ya. However, Xiao Ya became more and more restless. She lived in this villa and would always have dreams. She dreamed that Zhuang Yichen kidnapped her daughter. She wanted to leave. She wanted to leave with Yo-Yo immediately. She woke up in the middle of the night and pushed open Zhuang Yichen's bedroom door. She stood in front of his bed and said, Zhuang Yichen, let me go. He sat up on the bed. There was another set of bedding on the bright red bedding. He was afraid that it would get dirty, so he would always get someone to put away the bedding after he woke up the next day. He got out of bed and said, Xiao Yao, what are you doing now? I want to take Yo-Yo away. Don't watch me so closely, okay? He smiled and said, but you haven't given birth to my child yet. He lifted her chin and kissed her. Then, he carried her and gently placed her on the bed. You came over so late. Are you inviting me? I told you that you can only leave after you give birth to my child. You're in such a hurry. Do you want to give birth to my child immediately and leave? He didn't wait for her reply and kissed her. Slowly, lightly, and then extremely lingering, he tore at her lips and tongue. Hearing her moans and struggling, he said teasingly, if you don't want me to touch you, you won't be able to give birth to the child. If you can't give birth to the child, how are you going to leave? Seeing that she had given in, he kissed and licked her skin. He covered her eyes and brushed his tongue against her ear. Xiao Yao. He caressed her body and felt her body tremble. His kiss became more and more urgent. He felt her resistance and struggle, and the pain in his heart was indescribable. He knew that between them, they could not return to how they were in the past. The one who was in the past was only himself. But he couldn't let go. He could only spend more energy to tease her and ignite the desire in her body. Although he couldn't wait to have her immediately, he had to endure it every day. Until now, he still had to endure it. There was no other way. Until she let him in, let him in. Before he had her, he thought that he was a clean freak. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to take it and wouldn't be able to accept it. But when he had her again, he thought, finally, it's finally back. Was it his, or was it his? Every day after that, Zhuang Yichen secretly hugged Yo-Yo and taught her to call him Daddy. Yo-Yo was only 1.5 years old. She didn't understand the difference between a father and an uncle. At this age, she would probably call anyone Daddy. Gradually, Yo-Yo called Zhuang Yichen daddy every day. Gradually, the word daddy was rarely heard from her mouth. Xiaoya knew, but she didn't stop it. Because she knew that it was good that Yo-Yo didn't remember Su Zheyan. After all, she wouldn't be with anyone in the future. Perhaps it was because every time she heard Yo-Yo call Zhuang Yichen daddy, her eyes would start to water uncontrollably. She thought that she shouldn't have. She shouldn't have been someone who could be easily touched. She shouldn't. She had enough. 1 year later, in the autumn, Xiaoya came out of the hospital again. She had already gone for countless checkups. They all said that there was nothing wrong with her. Her body was normal and she could get pregnant. But she couldn't get pregnant. Madam, pregnancy is not always a woman's problem. It is sometimes a man's problem. No, my husband and I have already had a child. A man's body will change. The high pressure in society now will cause a man's survival rate to decrease. It will affect fertility. Why don't you bring your husband for a checkup? Yes. She agreed. But how was she going to tell Zhuang Yichen? It was Saturday and Zhuang Yichen brought Yo-Yo out to play. So she could go out alone. He was always like this. If he brought Yo-Yo out, he would definitely ask the bodyguards to follow. But if she went out alone, she could go anywhere she wanted. He knew that Yo-Yo was the string that held the kite. As long as the string was in his hands, even if there were 10 Xiaoya Chois, she wouldn't run away. With Yo-Yo, he could control her tightly. But she didn't call the police and say that he was under house arrest. He didn't know if it was because she didn't want to sue him or because she didn't want Yo-Yo's life to be exposed. When Xiaoya returned to the villa, the helpers were very respectful to her. She went upstairs to his study room. She would go there regularly to check on Su Corporation. He was always there. Su Zheyan had bought over an old chain of jewelry stores in the country. He looked like a gentleman, but he did things meticulously. She knew that he had always been outstanding. She thought that she shouldn't pay too much attention to him. It was fine as long as he was doing well. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 788. Zhuang Yichen carried Yo-Yo back to the villa. They walked past the lawn and headed towards the main building. Yo-Yo, wash your hands and face before you can eat the fruit. Yo-Yo hugged Zhuang Yichen's neck and pouted. I know. Daddy is so naggy. Li Yong followed behind the two of them and smiled. Beside him, Auntie Wang said softly, You don't say. Yo-Yo is really becoming more and more like Sir. This child is so close. Li Yong was stunned. Zhuang Yichen had already carried Yo-Yo into the main building. Li Yong frowned. Just as Zhuang Yichen carried Yo-Yo into the building, a maid came over. Sir, Madam is waiting for you in the study upstairs. She said that you should go and look for her. Zhuang Yichen handed Yo-Yo over to the maid and went upstairs. When he entered the study, he saw Xiaoya turn around and look at him. Little devil, what's wrong? Xiaoya raised the medical report and a series of receipts. She was filled with righteous indignation. What is this? Zhuang Yichen's eyes darkened. You went through my things. You with the surname Zhuang. You obviously had a birth control operation, but you want me to give birth to your child. He saw that she was trembling with anger. Her lips were trembling and her expression was ugly. There was a kind of hysterical anger in her. At first, he was a little afraid. However, he knew that some lies would be exposed one day. He had to face it sooner or later. His slender and seductive eyes revealed a faint smile. So what? You can't give birth to my child in this lifetime. Even if you die, you can only die in front of me. She saw how ruthless and decisive he was. However, when he said, so what? It was as if he was describing something trivial. It was as if carrying on the family line was just a child's play. After her anger subsided, all she was left with was her breathing. Sometimes it was soft, sometimes it was heavy, sometimes it was urgent, and sometimes it was slow. Then, she felt that her strength was running out. She saw the man in front of her go from clear to blurry. As her body slid down, she felt the man quickly come over and pick her up. He sat on the sofa and placed her on his lap. She could no longer hear him clearly, but she still heard him say, Actually, I don't have anything other than you. I don't have parents. I don't have any relatives. Little demon, if you're willing to rely on me and not have your own child, that's fine too. After all, I'm dead and won't be able to see anything. In fact, he didn't know why he had such thoughts. Perhaps it was only temporary. Even if it was temporary, such thoughts still popped out of his head. What does it feel like to love someone? He couldn't explain it, nor could he explain it thoroughly. He couldn't use words to describe it. All he knew was that if he loved someone, he had to be with her. He didn't know what blessings were. He knew that her heart was dead. Whether it was him or Su Zhiyan, all she had was an indescribable feeling. It was as if she had known each other for a long time. Perhaps what she felt for Su Zhiyan was kinship, a kinship that she relied on. The love in her heart couldn't bloom. He was the one who ended it. Even if it was a misunderstanding, he missed the best time to make up for it. During the time when she was at her most desperate, he wasn't by her side. She endured it bitterly. In the process of enduring, the flowers in her heart all withered. In the past, she would die for Kang Yiyun because she was young. However, after experiencing him, she left without taking anything with her. He knew that she only wanted to prove that she wouldn't die for a man. She would live well, change her identity, change her name. A fish's memory only lasted 7 seconds. She wanted to forget him, forget the hurt, and live a carefree life again. He knew that she was crazy and mentally unstable. The harder she tried to prove that she was strong, that she wouldn't die for love, the more she wanted to be calm and self-reliant, the more she couldn't walk out of that alley. She hurt herself. She couldn't control herself and hurt herself. In her mind, she desperately pulled herself not to do that. She couldn't do that. The two people in her body were fighting, and it drove her crazy. Therefore, she didn't do anything to Su Zhiyan, even though Su Zhiyan deliberately blocked the news that he was looking for her. However, during that time, when she was mentally unstable, it was Su Zhiyan who took care of her. Otherwise, it was unknown whether she would still have the chance to stand in front of him. She heard him say that they depended on each other. How could he use these 4 words? These 4 words were so desolate and bitter. He had such a strong family business and depended on each other. It was suitable for people who worked hard to survive. How could he use these words? She wanted to say it, but she couldn't open her mouth. She didn't have any strength at all. Her strength had been sucked away by his words. He carried her back to the room and placed her on the bed. Before night fell, he hugged her and coaxed her to sleep. Little demon, don't blame me for taking advantage of this loophole. I know you're a stubborn person, but I also have things that I want to persevere on. You can't bear to part with Yo-Yo, but I don't want children. That's why I can win. Little demon, this time, I'm more ruthless than you. That's why you can only be by my side. She didn't answer. She just closed her eyes and let the tears drip from her eyes onto the bedsheets. From then on, he didn't use the reason of wanting children to sleep with her. She also didn't enter his room. He only took her to the mall to buy shoes. However, he realized that she had changed. She didn't like high heels very much. She liked to wear more comfortable styles. She said, "It's tiring to take care of Yo-Yo. Wearing high heels makes my feet tired. There's a nanny at home. You don't have to carry her all the time. The child is mine. I can only carry her for a few years. When she grows up, she won't want me to carry her anymore." He could hear the sadness in her voice. He wanted to say, "Little demon, let's have another child. You can carry your child again." However, he knew that he couldn't and didn't dare to. He wasn't as ruthless as her. He didn't dare to try. Li Yom called. Zhuang Yichen picked up the call. Then, his body trembled. His gaze landed on Xiao Ya. His eyes started to redden and water started to well up. "Young master, I just got the DNA test results. Don't be so agitated. Actually, I didn't want to do this behind your back. I just heard a few servants talking about it. I was curious, so I took your and Wowo's hair for the test. Young master, Yo-Yo is your daughter. 100%, 100%. The phone fell to the ground and the battery fell out. He looked at Xiao Ya. She was looking down at the flat-heeled shoes on her feet. She was even tiptoeing as she said to the salesperson, "It looks like it's half a size bigger, but it'll be tight if it's a size smaller." The flavored bottles in his heart were all overturned. They were all overturned, and the feelings in his heart were surging uncontrollably. There must be mustard and chili in those flavored bottles. He could not control his tears and they fell. Yo-Yo was his daughter. Yo-Yo was his daughter, not Su Zhiyan's. How could she lie to him like this? How could she lie to him and make him suffer? Those passers-by looked at him and whispered. They even pointed at him. He looked at her with a face full of tears. When she looked up and saw him, she was shocked. She quickly asked, "What's wrong?" He only hugged her tightly. She was in so much pain that she couldn't cry out. He hugged her and couldn't speak. His tears flowed freely. He lowered his head and bit her shoulder. He used a lot of force. Those suppressed sobs could be heard from between his teeth and the flesh on her shoulder. She was in pain. Her shoulder hurt. Because he was crying in front of her in public, the pain on her shoulder suddenly rushed to her heart. It hurt so much that she curled up into a ball and couldn't cry out. He carried her. She was still wearing only one shoe. He carried her horizontally and walked away. The bodyguard sensibly paid the bill. "What are you doing? Little demon, how can I repay you?" He pressed his face against hers. As he walked, he said in a low voice, "Tell me, how can I repay you?" She didn't understand. "You don't owe me anything. Why do you want me to repay you? Yo-Yo is my daughter, isn't she?" He was thinking about how she was going to give birth to Yo-Yo when she was mentally unstable. Yo-Yo was so cute, so beautiful, so smart, and so lovable. She was so stunned that she couldn't say a word. She didn't know if the water stains on her face were hers or his. The sun was always so bright. Zhuang Yichen learned how to make cakes and specially hired a pastry chef to teach him. Yo-Yo thought that he was very good. She looked at the cakes that he made. After squeezing chocolate and strawberry jam, they could turn into cute little princesses, puppies, or teddy bears. She clapped her hands and said, "Daddy, you're so good. So good." He put the little cake on a plate and squatted down. "Daddy will feed Yo-Yo, okay?" "No, I want to save the cake. I don't want to eat it. If I eat it, the puppy will lose its head, tail and eyes." Yo-Yo was very disappointed. In her eyes, there was a halo of kindness. It was as if she would really hurt the puppy. "Daddy will make more for you after you eat it?" Yo-Yo shook her head. Her voice was still so childish. "Daddy, you should make watermelon, strawberries and vegetables for me next time. Puppies can't eat them. Look at how cute our ice cream is. If she sees me eating puppies, she will be sad." Ice cream was Zhuang Yichen's pet dog. Yo-Yo liked it very much. She played with it every day and they had a very deep relationship. Zhuang Yichen stroked Wu's head. "Okay, we won't eat puppies. Daddy will make strawberries for Yo-Yo right now." Xiaoya stood outside the kitchen and watched the interaction between the father and daughter. She turned around. She thought that even if Zhuang Yichen didn't say it out loud, Yo-Yo would still be close to him because of the nature of a father and daughter. It was the middle of winter and it was snowing heavily. The crowded crowd and the streams of traffic were all symbols of the city. By the roadside, Su Zhiyan stood in front of Xiaoya. The snow was fluttering in the air, dancing wildly, sticking to his clothes, hair, eyes and hair. The air he exhaled came in clumps. "Xiaoyu, come back with me, okay?" "Zhiyan, I can't leave Yo-Yo." He smiled bitterly. "You can't leave Zhuang Yichen, right?" She shook her head. "I can leave anyone, but I can't leave Yo-Yo." "You're trying to say that you can't leave anyone, including me, right?" "Yo-Yo, you're my life." "Xiaoyu, you're my life too." She couldn't say anything for a while. She didn't even dare to look at him. The pain in his eyes would burn her. "I'm too selfish. I've hurt you, Zhiyan." Both of them spoke softly, but their eyes were red. She saw him turn around and saw his sad smile. She was in a trance. Besides her consciousness, she also saw the wheels of the car rushing towards him uncontrollably. He heard the woman behind him scream, "Zhiyan, be careful." A force pushed him from his back and he fell forward. He fell to the ground and heard a muffled bang. He heard the sound of the brakes and the car's tires skidding in the snow. Zhuang Yichen's men saw this and ran towards the road in all directions. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 789. Asterisk at the hospital. Blood transfusion, oxygen, cardiac pacing. Voices rang out one after another. Zhuang Yichen's fist landed squarely on Su Zhiyan's face. Su Zhiyan's heart was throbbing with pain and he couldn't scream even if he wanted to. Su Zhiyan accepted it sullenly and didn't retaliate. All he could hear was the word she said in his arms. She sounded so weak and weak. Zhiyan, if I were your life, I would give it back to you. Live a good life, get married, and have kids. I'm sorry. The only person I've let down in my life is you. Don't cry. Zhiyan, I'm suddenly so happy. I feel so relaxed. I've never felt so relaxed in the past few years. I'm so tired, but I'm not worried. Yo-Yo has Zhuang Yichen. He will love her and take good care of her. My parents have Qian Qian and they have a granddaughter. They will be strong and live on. Zhiyan, don't cry. You have to be happy for me. I feel so relaxed right now, so relaxed. Her hand was cold as ice as it caressed his face. He lay on the floor, tears dripping onto the floor. He shouldn't have come looking for her. He thought he was fully prepared to deal with Zhuang Yichen. He was defeated the last time because he was caught off guard. How could the Su enterprise fall so easily? He wouldn't allow it this time. But when he saw the light in her eyes, he knew she didn't want to go with him. He was disappointed. Zhuang Yichen wanted to be generous for once. He shouldn't have acted like Su Zhiyan and deliberately kept the news from her. He only sent people to follow her and protect her. He didn't expect such an accident to happen. Are you happy now? Su Zhiyan. Su Zhiyan didn't reply. I'll wait here for her to wake up. If she doesn't wake up, I'll make you pay with your life. He looked up at Zhuang Yichen and smiled faintly. It was as if he didn't care about the rest of his life anymore. He pushed himself up and sat on the stool. It was the end of winter and the snow had melted. There was still the smell of medicine in the ward. The fragrance of the flowers in the vase mixed with the smell of disinfectant. It was very strange. Zhuang Yichen held the bowl of porridge and blew on it carefully before feeding it to Xiao Ya. She didn't eat it. It's tasteless. He was very happy that she had woken up. He did not dare to raise his voice at all. Have some porridge before you eat the vegetables, okay? No, I don't want to eat. Then what do you want to eat? Tell me and I'll have someone make it for you right away. Zhuang Yichen, I want to marry you. I'm telling you, if you don't marry me, I'll break up with you. I'm already 25 years old. She angrily pushed his bowl away. The bowl fell to the ground and shattered. The porridge splattered all over the floor. His hand was still grasping the air, as if he was still holding a bowl in his hand. His body stiffened, and he couldn't believe it. With a trembling voice he said, "Little demon, wait a little longer." She said firmly, "No. I still have a few more 4 years. In another 4 years, I'll be almost 30 years old. I won't wait. I'll either get married or break up. Yi Er is already married at such a young age. Even Qian Qian is married. If you don't marry me, I'll find someone who's willing to marry me." Tears streamed down his face. "Don't you dare," she harumphed. "You'll see if I dare." He hugged her. "Little demon, let's go get our marriage certificate tomorrow then." "Really? Really? I'll even give you a grand wedding. I'll even give you a company and shares, okay? Really?" His heart ached so much that it was about to split open. But seeing her like this, he was happy. "Really?" She sobbed. "Zhuang Yichen, don't lie to me." "I won't lie to you. From now on, I'll tell you when I eat, when I get off work, where I'm going, and what I'm doing. I'll never lie to you. Little demon, I won't lie to you or hide anything from you in the future. Okay." She wiped the tears off her face and pouted. Then she said seriously, "I'll make my own wedding dress. I'll make your formal dress for you." "Okay. You've always made my clothes. Of course, you'll have to make my formal dress too." Outside the door, a figure froze for a moment before leaving. She wanted him to get married and have children. A month later, in the Zhuang family's villa in the suburbs, they were arguing again. "Zhuang Yichen, if you don't marry me, I'll break up with you." "Okay, we'll get married tomorrow." "Don't lie to me." "I won't lie to you." "I won't lie to you or hide anything from you in the future, okay? I'm going to have my formal dress made. You must invite Yi Er and Qian Qian. I must show off. You must. You mustn't miss out on anything. Buy them the biggest diamond ring. A young tycoon in Haicheng held 3 weddings in a single season. He spent tens of millions each time, and all 3 weddings were with the same bride. Some people laughed foolishly, some called him silly, and some said, "When love is strong, how can you be silly?" Xiaoya walked around the garden outside, thinking about how to design her formal dress. She stood there for half an hour, and no one dared to disturb her. In the end, when she returned to the main building, her feet were frozen stiff. Zhuang Yichen saw that her nose was red from the cold. He was worried that she might be too loud and disturb Yo-Yo, so he lowered his voice and scolded the maids. "Is this how you take care of Madam?" "Sir, Madam doesn't want us to disturb her. Keep your voice down. You're so ungentlemanly." Xiaoya rolled her eyes at Zhuang Yichen and held his arm. "Yichen, I'll go up and soak my feet." As her feet soaked in the water, they were surrounded by warmth. Xiaoya sighed comfortably. "It's so comfortable." Zhuang Yichen squatted on the ground and stroked her feet. "Next time, don't stand for so long when you go out. If you're in the cold for too long, your skin will be damaged." "Yichen, don't do it for me. I'll do it myself." Xiaoya felt that she should wash his feet. Suddenly, she was a little scared. She was afraid that he would dislike her and not want her anymore. "Don't move." He rubbed her feet for a while before he took the towel and placed it on his lap. He wrapped her feet in the towel and wiped the water off her feet. He held her feet in his large palms. His hands were very warm. He placed her feet against his chest. "Do you remember what I said? If you stand outside in the cold again at night, I'll get angry." He knew that ever since her mental condition had worsened, she had always listened to him. Aside from the matter of marriage, she had always been very firm. Usually, she would listen to whatever he said. "I won't do it again." Looking at her pouting timidly, he wanted to laugh. "Xiaoyao, do you still remember that I told you that I love you?" She was stunned. Her mouth was slightly open, her eyes were wide, and her eyelashes were blinking. She blinked and tears came out of her eyes. "You lied to me." She jumped up from the stool and stepped on the water. She punched his shoulder and cried non-stop. "Zhuang Yichen, you lied to me. When did you say that? When did you say that? Say it again, say it again." He stood up, hugged her and kissed the tears on her face. "I said it yesterday in the morning, and in the afternoon when I called you. You forgot." "How could I forget? You must be lying to me. You must be lying to me." She cried hard and punched him intensely. She suddenly pushed him away and ran into the study barefooted. The helper heard the commotion and hurried into the room to clean up. Xiaoya entered the study and took a new notebook. She took out a pen and looked at the time on the clock on the wall. She wrote down the year, hour, minute, second, and year one by one and added a sentence at the end. "Zhuang Yichen said to me that he loves you." Many years later, there were several notebooks in the study. The year, hour, minute, second, and year were densely recorded. "Zhuang Yichen said to me that he loves you." Zhuang Yichen, Yi-Er, and Qian Qian each have 2 children. "Okay. Why do we only have 1 child?" He was delighted and kissed her forehead. "After some time, we'll have a child too." The vasectomy was not a major operation, but after it was done, she would need to recuperate for some time before she could have a child. He thought that as long as she was willing to have children, of course, he would want to have 2 more children. "Really? Really? Then let's talk to Yo-Yo tomorrow and have another child to accompany her." "Okay." End of Zhuang Ya's narration. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 790. A pair of warm hands landed on her face, awkwardly wiping away the tears on her face. Someone whispered in her ear, "Sis, did you have a nightmare? Don't be afraid. Your brave and handsome little brother is here with you. No one will dare to bully you." "Ahan, ahan." Ji Yuqi opened her heavy eyes. Through the haze of tears, she saw a handsome but slightly childish face. "Ahan, it really was her little brother, Ahan." "Ahan." Ji Yuqi hugged him, tears rolling down her face. She kept saying, "Ahan, I can still see you. Ahan, I missed you so much." Ji Yunhan was stunned. Looking at his sister who was crying so hard that she was out of breath, He blinked in puzzlement. Finally, he hugged her and gently patted her back. Sis, don't be so agitated. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. You can see me every day in the future. Be good, don't cry. You won't be pretty if you cry anymore. Yuchi was crying and laughing at the same time. This was her little brother, a noisy, handsome, and cute little brother. Why did she think that her little brother was rebellious and insensible? She was so stupid to actually believe Chen Tingfang and her mother's instigation. Miss, don't cry. Your body is weak. If master sees you, his heart will ache. A pair of calloused hands held a tissue and gently wiped away the tears on her face. Mother Wu. Yuchi raised her head to look at the familiar and kind face. Her tears fell even harder. Mother Wu was the Ji family's nanny. She had been serving the Ji family since Yuchi was born. She treated Chi-Chi and Ah-Han better than her own son. In Yuchi's heart, she was like her second mother. Be good, don't cry. Mother Wu will make your favorite dessert for you later. Although Mother Wu's face was smiling, her eyes were a little red. She had always treated Miss as her own daughter and doted on her. How could her heart not ache when her child was hurt? After a long while, Yuchi's emotions stabilized. What was going on? Wasn't she dead? Why did she see the dead Ah-Han and Mother Wu who had returned to her hometown to retire? Could it be that before she died, she was hallucinating? She bit her tongue hard. Hiss, it hurt. It wasn't a hallucination. It was real. Perhaps the heavens had heard her unwillingness and regret before she died, so they had given her a chance to start over. In the bathroom, Yuchi looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was much younger. She thought for a long time and finally confirmed that she had been reborn. She had returned to the time when she was 20 years old. In the winter of that year, she had accidentally fallen into the lake. It was Jiang Tianhao who had saved her. That was the first time they had met. Thinking of that man, Yuchi's blood began to boil. Hatred was like a ferocious beast, tearing at her soul. She was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Her body trembled, and the anger and hatred in her eyes made people shudder. Since she had been reborn, she would never allow those cheese to control her life. She would protect the people she loved and make those who harmed her pay the price. Sister, are you okay? Yunhan's worried voice came. Yuchi took a deep breath and slowly hid the hatred in her eyes. She opened the door and walked out. I'm fine. Ah-Han, where's Mother Wu? Mother Wu went downstairs to make some snacks for you. Sister, are you still feeling unwell? If you're feeling unwell, you must tell me. Yunhan looked at her with concern. He felt that something had changed after his sister fell into the water, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. Yuchi smiled and rubbed his head. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. How about you? How have your studies been? Have you been bullied in school? She remembered that Ah-Han had just entered the first year of high school. He was originally very good at his studies, but for some reason, he started to skip classes. He didn't study hard and often made her father angry. Later he joined the mafia. Her father was so angry that he almost cut off all ties with him. Later on, Yunhan proudly raised his chin. Who do you think your brother is? How could I be bullied? You don't have to worry about my studies. I'm the first in the entire cohort. Of course, my brother is the best. Yuchi smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Then she said seriously, Ah-Han, no matter what difficulties you encounter, remember to tell me. I'll definitely help you. Don't forget, I'm your biological sister. Yunhan was startled. His handsome face bloomed with a brilliant smile. He nodded heavily. And I know, sister. Ever since Yi Zissou entered their house, his sister rarely chatted with him so intimately. She preferred to play with Yi Zissou. However, now that his sister was willing to treat him intimately again, he was so happy that he could fly. Big sister Chi-Chi, may I come in? A gentle voice interrupted the siblings' conversation. Yuchi's heart trembled. She unconsciously clenched her fists and stared at the closed door with hatred. She would never forget that it was the owner of that voice who had colluded with that beast, Jiang Tianhao, to destroy their Ji family. Yunhan muttered impatiently. Annoying person. Yuchi seemed to wake up from a dream. Her tense body suddenly relaxed. She had to calm down. If she always got angry so easily, Yi Zixu and her good mother would definitely see through her. She rubbed Ji Yunhan's hair and whispered, "In the future, even if you hate someone, you can't show it. Otherwise, you'll be used by the enemy, understand?" Ji Yunhan stared at her in disbelief. "Sister, are you sure you're really my sister and not an alien in disguise?" He had nagged his sister more than once that mother and daughter were bad people, but he was always scolded by his sister for being insensible. This time, she didn't scold him and even said such things. Ji Yuqi felt a little bitter. She hugged him. "Ahan, only you and Dad are my family. I'll definitely protect you." Ji Yunhan still wanted to say something, but Yi Zixu knocked on the door again. "Sister Qiqi, are you okay?" Ji Yuqi let go of Ji Yunhan. Her lips curled into a tranquil smile as she said softly, "I'm fine. Zixu, come in." The door opened, and a beautiful figure walked in. The 19-year-old Yi Zixu was very beautiful. She looked very much like her mother, Chen Tingfang. She had a pair of big watery eyes, a tall nose, pink lips, and a delicate face the size of a palm. She wore a white wool dress that accentuated her graceful figure. Her movements were elegant, like a fresh and elegant lily that bloomed quietly. Others were bewitched by her pure appearance. Only Ji Yuqi knew that her heart was as vicious as a scorpion's. Ji Yuqi's smile grew brighter, but her eyes were cold. "Yi Zixu, we meet again. Sister Qiqi, are you feeling better?" Yi Zixu's delicate face was filled with worry. Ji Yuqi stared at her beautiful face and her pretentious expression. She really wanted to rush up and bite her throat. However, she couldn't be impulsive. She would take revenge for all the pain she had suffered, bit by bit. She pinched her palms hard and tried to control her emotions. She curled her lips and said, "I'm fine now. I've made you worry, Zixu." Yi Zixu seemed to heave a sigh of relief. Her furrowed brows loosened, and she looked at her reproachfully. "Sister Qiqi, you have to be more careful in the future. It's so dangerous to fall into the lake in the middle of winter. Fortunately, someone passed by and saved you. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable." Her tone was reproachful, but every word she said was for Ji Yuqi's sake, as if she was really a good sister who cared about her older sister. If Ji Yuqi hadn't been reborn and seen through her true colors, she would have been bewitched by her fake kindness. Ji Yuqi's eyes flashed with ridicule, but her lips curved into a gentle smile. "All right, Zixu, I already know my mistake. Don't embarrass me anymore. I was just taught a lesson by Ahan." Ji Yunhan had been standing to the side watching Yi Zixu's pretentious behavior. He was originally very impatient, but when he recalled his older sister's reminder, he didn't mock and ridicule Yi Zixu like before. He only snorted and replied to his older sister, "In the future, don't tell others that I'm your younger brother. I don't have such a stupid older sister like you." Ji Yuqi pretended to be angry and snorted twice. Yi Zixu hurriedly smoothed things over and changed the topic, but in her heart, she couldn't wait for the relationship between the siblings to worsen as much as possible. "Sister Qiqi, I almost forgot that Senior Zhang Tianhao is here to see you. Let's hurry downstairs." Ji Yuqi looked confused. "Zhang Tianhao? Who's that?" Yi Zixu stepped forward and held her arm. She smiled gently. "Sister Qiqi, Senior Zhang is a famous person in our school. How could you forget? Also, he's your savior." Savior? It must have been carefully planned. Ji Yuqi still remembered that day when she was sitting by the lake and reading a book. Suddenly, she felt a weight on her shoulder and fell into the lake with a splash. She struggled and shouted for help, but there was no one around. The suffocation grew stronger and stronger. She drank a lot of water and thought that she was dead for sure. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her arm. In her previous life, she thought that it was just her imagination and didn't think much of it. In this life, she was sure that someone had deliberately pushed her into the lake. The person behind the scenes was naturally Zhang Tianhao. He wanted to create a scene of a hero saving a damsel in distress to get close to her and win her favor. Ji Yuqi narrowed her eyes and seemed to be thinking seriously. After a while, she came to a realization. No wonder I thought his name was familiar. So it's our student council president. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and she looked a little shy. "Zixu, you said that Senior Zhang saved me?" The perfect smile on Yi Zixu's face froze, and her voice was gentle. "Yes, Senior Jiang has been very worried about you, so he specially came to see you. Let's hurry down and not let him wait too long. But I haven't changed yet. Ji Yuqi glanced at her clothes and shook her arm coquettishly. Zissou, you go down and accompany Senior Jiang first. I'll change first. Okay, I'll go down first. Hurry up and come down. Yi Zissou chuckled, her lowered eyelashes hiding the strong jealousy in her eyes. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 791. In the living room, a man and woman were sitting on opposite ends of the sofa, chatting in a soft voice. From time to time, Yi Zissou's delicate laughter could be heard. Ji Yuqi sorted out her emotions, trying her best to suppress the flood of hatred, and slowly walked down the stairs. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Jiang Tianhao looked up, his deep eyes revealing a stunned expression. The woman slowly came down the stairs. Her beautiful long curly hair naturally draped over her shoulders, giving off an enchanting luster under the light. She was wearing a long red dress. The enchanting red was like a burning flame, forcing people to hold their breath and stare directly at it. Her every movement exuded a charming charm, but her pair of agate eyes revealed a trace of coldness, like the perfect combination of an angel and a devil, so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. Ji Yuqi was also sizing up Jiang Tianhao. His face was really handsome. No wonder she was mesmerized by him in her previous life. Even if she was now sizing him up with a heart full of hatred, she had to admit that he was indeed wearing the skin of a beauty. This year he was only 22 years old, but his calm and restrained aura was not to be underestimated. Although he had a warm smile on his face, she could see the ambition and greed in his deep eyes. Ji Yuqi's lips hooked up into a faint smile. Jiang Tianhao, don't you like to plunder? Then wait for me to destroy it for you to see. Jiang Tianhao stood up like a gentleman, his smile could be described as perfect, and his voice was soft and smooth. Junior sister, how is your body? It's already much better. Thank you, senior, for your concern. Ji Yuqi faintly smiled, a faint blush appearing on her white cheeks. Senior, I still haven't thanked you for saving my life. Jiang Tianhao modestly said, It's just a small matter, junior sister is fine, so I'm relieved. Ji Yuqi calmly glanced at Yi Zissou, seeing her stiff smile, the smile on her lips deepened, and she playfully winked, her voice carrying a trace of coquettishness. To senior, it's just a small matter, but to me, it's a great kindness that is difficult to repay. Senior, if you don't mind, I would like to treat you to a meal to express my gratitude. Jiang Tianhao naturally declined. Ji Yuqi coquettishly said, Senior, if you don't agree, then it means you're looking down on me. Junior sister, you're too polite. Then I can only accept deferentially. Jiang Tianhao's smile, but his tone was even more gentle, as if there was a trace of doting. Clang! Yi Zissou accidentally knocked over the teacup, the tea spilling onto her skirt. Her face was pale, and she awkwardly smiled. Sorry, you guys take your time chatting, I'll go change my clothes. Ji Yuqi watched as she hurriedly left, a trace of ridicule in her eyes. So, Yi Zissou had liked Jiang Tianhao for a long time. In her previous life, this big idiot had stupidly asked Yi Zissou to teach her how to pursue Jiang Tianhao. She was really stupid to the extreme. After Yi Zissou went upstairs, she didn't come down again. Ji Yuqi also didn't want to look at Jiang Tianhao's disgusting face, so they arranged to eat together. After faintly exchanging a few words, Jiang Tianhao tactfully took his leave. Ji Yuqi stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching Jiang Tianhao's tall and straight back disappear into the distance. She couldn't help but recall her previous life, when she also secretly watched him leave. The difference was that at that time, she was filled with anticipation for their next meeting. But now, her heart was filled with hatred, and nothing else. The fallen leaves and trees in the courtyard were bare, giving people a feeling of desolation for no reason. In the garden, several red plum blossoms were in full bloom, awe-inspiring and unafraid of the cold wind. The fiery colors ignited the hatred hidden deep in Ji Yuqi's heart. Her lips hooked up in a cold arc, so cold that it was frightening. Chi-Chi, why are you wearing so little? Don't freeze. Ji Bowen had just returned home when he saw his daughter standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in a daze, and his heart ached. Ji Yuqi's heart trembled, and her eyes quickly filled with tears. It was her father who loved her the most. She abruptly turned around and threw herself into Ji Bowen's embrace. Smelling his warm and familiar scent, Her tears fell down. In her previous life, she had ignored her father's objections and insisted on marrying Jiang Tianhao, breaking his heart. Her heart was filled with regret. Dad, I missed you so much. Dad, I'm sorry. This child, didn't we just part ways this morning? Why are you getting more clingy as you grow up? Ji Bowen smiled as he stroked his daughter's head. He couldn't help but scold her. Chi-Chi, you're not allowed to do dangerous things in the future. Dad is old and can't stand being scared. Ji Yuqi fiercely nodded. Dad, I'll definitely listen to you in the future. I won't make you angry anymore. Ji Bowen's warm large palm pressed on her head and sighed with gratification. Chi-Chi, you've grown up. You know how to care for your dad. Dad is very happy. Dad. Ji Yuqi's nose twitched, and her tears fell again. Okay, don't cry. Ji Bowen lovingly patted her back. Chi-Chi, go upstairs and put on another layer of clothes. Don't catch a cold. Dad, I'm not cold. The heater in the room was very strong, and it was as warm as summer. Ji Bowen deliberately put on a stern face. No, you've just recovered from a serious illness. You have to be more careful. Gigai, be a good girl and go upstairs and put on another layer of clothes. Okay, I'll listen to Dad. Ji Yuqi hugged him tightly, then released him. She playfully stuck out her tongue, then turned around and ran upstairs. Ji Bowen laughed and shook his head with a doting expression. Chen Tingfang stood on the second floor and jealously watched the scene of the father and daughter being filial. Her strict husband rarely smiled in front of her and Zissou, but in front of Ji Yuqi, he was never stingy with his smile. Could it be that he never cared about his wife? Auntie Chen, Ji Yuqi sweetly called out when she brushed past Chen Tingfang. Chen Tingfang smiled and said gently, Chi-Chi, change your clothes and quickly go downstairs to eat. Ji Yuqi responded crisply, okay. Chen Tingfang waited for her to walk away, and the smile on her face immediately disappeared, leaving only a gloomy viciousness in her eyes. During dinner, Ji Bowen kept putting food into Ji Yuqi's bowl, piling up a small hill. She pouted and said, Dad, if you continue to feed me like this, I'm going to become a little fat pig. You'll be prettier if you become a little fat pig. Look at you now, you've lost weight. Come eat more. This is the chicken soup that Mama Wu specially made for you. Ji Bowen scooped half a bowl of chicken soup and placed it in front of her. Ji Yuqi rolled her eyes and said with a smile, Dad, you can't just spoil me. There's still Zissou and Ahan. Be careful not to make them jealous. Do you think they're as petty as you? Ji Bowen was amused by her mischievous look. Although he was joking, he still scooped half a bowl of soup for Yi Zissou and Ji Yunhan. Thank you, Uncle Ji. Yi Zissou took the soup and felt an indescribable pain in her heart. No matter how good or how outstanding she was as a stepdaughter, she would never be able to compare to someone else's biological daughter. The next day was Sunday, and it was also the day that Ji Yuqi and Jiang Tianhao had agreed to go out for dinner. She woke up early in the morning and dressed herself up beautifully. She quietly took in Yi Zissou's jealousy into her eyes. At around 9 o'clock, Jiang Tianhao came to pick her up. His black coat made him look handsome, gentle, and tall. Ji Yuqi skipped over to him, revealing the innocence and cuteness of a little girl. Good morning, senior. Good morning, junior sister. Jiang Tianhao looked at her with a gentle gaze that could drip water. Ji Yuqi smiled and put on a white cloak with Mother Wu's help. She looked as adorable as a doll carved from jade. She carried her bag, turned around and said to Yi Zissou, Zissou, are you really not going? Senior isn't an outsider. It'll be more lively with one more person. Don't you think so, Senior? She tilted her head and looked at Jiang Tianhao with a smile on her face. For some reason, Jiang Tianhao had the urge to rub her soft hair. However, when he glanced at the low-key luxurious decorations of the Ji family, the strange feeling in his heart disappeared. He smiled and said, Yuqi is right. Zissou, why don't you come with us? Yi Zissou's eyes lit up. Senior Tianhao called her name. She was so excited that her heart raced. She wanted to tell him that she was willing to go, but when she saw Ji Yuqi secretly winking at her and looking at her pleadingly, she had to suppress the excitement in her heart. She smiled stiffly and said, I've already made an appointment with my friend, so I won't be going with you. Have fun. I see. What a pity. Zissou, we'll be leaving first. Ji Yuqi waved at Yi Zissou. Jiang Tianhao also nodded politely. Seeing the two figures disappear at the entrance of the courtyard, Yi Zissou picked up a vase and smashed it on the ground. Her beautiful face was twisted with anger and jealousy. Mom, how long do I have to endure this? I saw Senior Tianhao first. Why should I give him to that bitch Ji Yuqi? Mom, I can't accept this. I really can't accept this. Senior Tianhao likes me too. We're a match made in heaven. Yi Zissou roared angrily in the master bedroom. Chen Tingfeng's slender and white fingers tapped Yi Zissou's forehead. She said resentfully, Senior Tianhao, what's so good about that poor boy? You'll marry a rich man in the future. Don't associate with those poor people. Mom, you can't say that about Senior Tianhao. Although his family isn't well off, he's capable and ambitious. He'll definitely make a name for himself. I like ambitious men like him. Stupid. No matter how capable he is, without connections and funds, he'll only be able to climb to the position of a department manager. Compared to those rich second-generation heirs, he's already lost at the starting line. Chen Tingfeng frowned impatiently. Zissou, listen to Mom. Don't associate with him anymore. With your Uncle Ji's status, it'll be easy for you to marry into a rich family in the future. Why do you have to suffer with a poor boy? Right, doesn't that Tang boy like you? I think he's not bad. Come and see. Song Shu 566. Chapter 792. Mom, Tang Feng isn't bad, but I don't like him. The one I like is Senior Tianhao. I beg you, please help me. Yi Zissou hugged Chen Tingfeng's arm and acted like a spoiled child. Mom, if G Group becomes ours, we'll have our own money. Why do we have to marry a rich husband and look at his face? Her words poked at Chen Tingfeng's sore spot. Although Chen Tingfeng married a rich husband after remarrying, Ji Bowen wasn't the kind of person who indulged in extravagance. He wouldn't let Chen Tingfeng flaunt her wealth, so he often made her lose face in front of those rich wives. Thinking about it, she used to be a legitimate daughter of a wealthy family. If it weren't for her family's downfall and her ex-husband's downfall, she wouldn't have to look at her current husband's face. Chen Tingfeng's expression turned ugly. Yi Zissou continued to add fuel to the fire. Mom, you've seen it for yourself. No matter how hard we try, Uncle Ji still likes Ji Yuqi the most. She's his biological daughter. There's no way he'll leave his family assets to us. It was fine in the past. Ji Yuqi was arrogant and ignorant. One day, she would fall into our hands. But now, it's as if she's suddenly enlightened. Look at how happy she's made Uncle Ji. I'm even suspecting that she knows something. Chen Tingfeng's gaze turned cold. Her scarlet nails dug into the edge of the table. She sneered and said, if we want to defeat Ji Yuqi, we have to first make her lose Ji Bowen's favor. Let's see what else she can do without the person protecting her. Yi Zissou was delighted. Mom, you have a plan? Chen Tingfeng scratched a few marks on the table with her fingernails. Her eyes were sinister and vicious. She whispered something into Yi Zissou's ear, which made Yi Zissou beam with joy. Humph, Ji Yuqi, let's see how long you can be so mighty. Ji Yuqi, who was being talked about, was having a meal with Jiang Tianhao in a high-class Western restaurant. She lowered her eyes and elegantly cut the steak on the plate. She imagined that she was cutting Jiang Tianhao, and her mood inexplicably became better. Sure enough, love and hate were separated by a single thought. In her previous life, she loved him so much that even a scratch on his hand made her heart ache. But now, fantasizing about how to torture him had become her greatest hobby. Yuqi, what do you usually like to do? Jiang Tianhao's voice was clear and gentle. Ji Yuqi's expression was indifferent. Eat, sleep, study, and occasionally go shopping. There's nothing special. Jiang Tianhao was startled. He thought that this arrogant miss in front of him already had a good impression of him. She should have shown her good points in front of him to attract him. Even if she didn't have any good points, she should have said that she had some elegant interests. Her answer was too honest. Ji Yuqi didn't know what he was thinking and didn't care. She only focused on eating, treating him as if he was nothing. Jiang Tianhao still wanted to worm his way into being friends with her. He created a few more topics, but she rebutted him indifferently. He couldn't guess what she was thinking, but he also found it more interesting. It seemed that she wasn't the simple-minded, unruly, and willful Miss in the rumors. When it was time to pay the bill, Jiang Tianhao displayed his gentlemanly demeanor. He took out his wallet and rushed to pay the bill. Ji Yuqi stopped him and directly handed a gold card to the waiter. She lightly smiled. I already said that I'll treat Senior. How can I let Senior spend money? Jiang Tianhao didn't insist and gently said, It's still early. Why don't we go watch a movie? It had been the same in his previous life. After the two of them had finished eating, he had suggested that they watch a movie. In the end, they had watched a literary film about a pair of childhood sweethearts. Ji Yuqi had thought about her own feelings and had started to cry. Jiang Tianhao had taken out a tissue and gently wiped her tears. At that moment, she had developed a good impression of him. Ji Yuqi's lips curved into a cold smile. Her voice was flat. Sorry. Senior. I'm not feeling well today. Maybe another day. Then I'll send you home. There's no need. The driver is waiting for me outside. Jiang Tianhao thoughtfully took the coat and was about to put it on for her. She took the coat from him and put it on herself. Men were all cheap. The easier it was to get something, the more boring it was for him. The harder it was to get, the more it could arouse his fighting spirit. Especially this kind of man who had bad intentions and deliberately approached her. How could she not make it more difficult for him? She was neither close nor distant. Only then could she seduce him and make him unable to stop even if he wanted to. When she got home, it wasn't even 4 o'clock. Chen Tingfang and her daughter were not around. When she asked Mother Wu, she found out that the two of them had left after lunch. They probably went shopping. Ji Yuqi had just finished changing her clothes when Xiao Rou came in. Xiao Rou was Mother Wu's distant niece. Under Mother Wu's influence, she was 100% loyal to Ji Yuqi. The two of them were very close. In private, they called each other by her name. Yuqi, I was cleaning Madam's room today. I accidentally overheard Madam and Miss Second's conversation. Xiao Rou repeated the conversation she overheard in the cloakroom word for word. Ji Yuqi did not have much of a reaction after hearing this. She had already expected that Yi Zixu would not be willing to give up on Jiang Tianhao. That would be good. The deeper Yi Zixu's feelings for Jiang Tianhao, the deeper she would be hurt. In her previous life, Xiao Rou did not overhear their conversation. Perhaps, her rebirth had changed the trajectory of some things. Ji Yuqi did not speak. Xiao Rou thought that she had suffered a blow and was too sad, so she asked with concern, Yuqi, are you okay? Ji Yuqi's heart warmed. She smiled and said, I'm fine, Xiao Rou. Thank you for telling me this. This is what I should do. However, that mother and daughter are too hateful. Should we tell Master? No need. We don't have any solid evidence. Even if we tell my father, he won't do anything to them. Moreover, I don't want to alert them. Ji Yuqi's eyes moved slightly. The smile on her lips was frighteningly cold. I'm not afraid of them doing anything. I'm just afraid that they won't do anything. Xiao Rou's eyes widened. She thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. Although Yuqi was unruly and willful, she had a good heart. How could she show such a scary smile? Xiao Rou, Ji Yuqi held Xiao Rou's hand and said bluntly, I was stupid in the past. I didn't know who was sincere to me and who was not. But now I see clearly. I won't be deceived by those villains. Xiao Rou, in this family, you and Mother Wu are the people I trust the most. Mother Wu is old and I don't want to involve her in these things. Are you willing to help me? Xiao Rou bit her lip. Although she did not read many books, she was very attentive and sharp. She could see that Chen Tingfang and her daughter did not have good intentions. In the past, Yuqi was deceived by them. She and Mother Wu also tried to persuade Yuqi, but she did not believe them. Now that she saw clearly, Xiao Rou naturally chose to stand on Yuqi's side. Xiao Rou's eyes were firm. Yuqi, Xiao Rou is your person in life and your ghost in death. I will never betray you. Ji Yuqi's eyes welled up with tears. She hugged Xiao Rou. Xiao Rou, thank you. In her previous life, Xiao Rou had also treated her wholeheartedly. In the end, the Ji family fell into dire straits. The servants either left or scattered. Only Mother Wu and Xiao Rou refused to leave. They insisted on staying by her side to take care of her. Madam, they spoke too softly in the end. I didn't hear their conspiracy. What should I do? Ji Yuqi pursed her lips and smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. It's okay. I have a rough idea of what they want to do. Chen Tingfang and her daughter were very good at shopping. They did not come back until the evening and bought a lot of things. Yi Zixu took out 2 identical bottles of Chanel perfume and smiled as she approached Ji Yuqi. Big sister Chi-Chi, this is a new perfume from Chanel. We sisters will each have a bottle. We will use the same perfume at the Christmas ball. What do you think? This was an elegant and delicate fragrance of oriental flowers. Ji Yuqi took a deep breath and smiled happily. Zixu, your idea is amazing. Others will wear sister outfits and we will use sister perfume. Many people will be envious. Then it's a deal. Yi Zixu's charming face had a gentle smile, but a trace of viciousness flashed through her watery eyes. Imperial Capital University was one of the top universities in the country. Their business administration was a well-known major in the country. Most of the students studying in the management school had a strong background and could enter their own companies as soon as they graduated. This group of proud sons and daughters all had a sense of superiority and liked to be in the limelight. Therefore, they prepared with all their might and wanted to be the most dazzling and eye-catching person at the school's masquerade ball. Walking into the luxurious ballroom, a beautiful melody lingered in the hall. Miss, who came from a prestigious family, was chatting and laughing with the young masters. Her every movement exuded an elegant temperament. Ji Yuqi glanced at Yi Zixu, who was walking beside her. She smiled and said, Zixu, you are so beautiful today. Yi Zixu's black hair was tied up. She wore a silver fox mask on her delicate little face, revealing her perky nose and captivating cherry lips. She wore a layered white muslin evening gown that was as beautiful as a wedding dress and a pair of crystal high heels on her feet. It was not hard to tell that she was dressed as Snow White. Big sister Chi-Chi, you look very good today too. Yi Zixu praised her insincerely. Ji Yuqi, this be *TCH, was wearing all black. Did she think that she was filming The Matrix? Heavens, Yuqi, you are so handsome in this outfit. It seems that I should give up my title of school hunk to you. A man in a white tuxedo walked towards them. A silver mask covered the upper half of his face, revealing his thin chin and proud nose. A pair of elegant peach blossom eyes stared at Ji Yuqi affectionately. Ji Yuqi's slender fingers rested on her chin. She smiled lazily and said, Gu Fifan, I haven't seen you for a few days and you have become more and more romantic. Gu Fifan, the famous playboy of Imperial Capital University, was a sentimental seed. He changed girlfriends faster than he changed clothes. Some time ago, he had taken a liking to Ji Yuqi. Unfortunately, Ji Yuqi had never treated him well. He did not expect her to suddenly change her attitude. How could he not be surprised? Attention, Song Shu 566. Chapter 793. Gu Fifan's eyes became more and more scorching. He casually picked up 2 glasses of red wine from the waiter's tray and handed one to Ji Yuqi. He held the other glass in his hand and slowly shook the wine glass. He chuckled and said, To be able to receive Miss G's praise, I would be willing to die. Miss G, I wonder if you would be willing to do me the honor and accompany me for the first dance? From the beginning to the end, Gu Fifan did not even look at Yi Zixu. She was about to explode in anger. She always thought of herself as beautiful. Every time at the ball, she would be the object of the men's attention. This was the first time she was completely ignored by a man. Okay, it would be my honor. Ji Yuqi gracefully touched Gu Fifan's wine glass and took a sip of red wine. Yi Zixu watched her drink the red wine. Her eyes suddenly turned cold. Very good, Ji Yuqi. Just wait to fall into hell. She glanced at Gu Fifan. Humph, you blind man. Just wait to be destroyed together with Ji Yuqi. Jiang Tianhao searched for Ji Yuqi for a long time. In the end, he saw her dancing with a man in a white suit. Ji Yuqi's graceful body was wrapped in a tight black vest with a black leather jacket. Black hot pants tightly clung to her perky buttocks and slender thighs. A pair of knee-high boots decorated her figure even more sexy and charming. She did not wear a mask on her face. Her expression was cold. Her pair of charming phoenix eyes were indifferent. Her chin was slightly raised. Her white cheeks were suffused with a cold luster under the bright light. Two figures, one black and one white, danced in the hall. Their dance moves were bold and unrestrained, attracting everyone's attention. Amazement, envy, jealousy, all kinds of gazes were intertwined on them. Jiang Tianhao stared at the beautiful figure without blinking. His deep eyes showed a trace of absent-mindedness. Every time he saw her, she was different. Arrogant, cute, charming, cold. Which one was the real her? She was like a poppy flower. She had a beautiful appearance and a mysterious aura. He couldn't help but get close to her and get addicted. Yi Zixu stood a few steps away. Seeing that Jiang Tianhao was completely focused on Ji Yuqi, her heart was filled with jealousy and hatred. Her fingers, which were gripping the wine glass, turned slightly pale. That man was hers. She must not let Ji Yuqi take him away. She took a sip of red wine, put the wine glass aside, and walked towards him with light steps. At the end of the song, there was a round of applause. Gu Fifan's charming peach blossom eyes slightly raised as he chuckled and said, "Miss Ji, tonight you are fully deserving of the title of prom queen." "Mr. Gu, are you indirectly praising yourself?" Ji Yuqi glanced at Yi Zixu and Jiang Tianhao, who had already slid onto the dance floor. She smiled. It seemed that things were going smoothly. "Then are you willing to be my empress?" Gu Fifan approached her and blocked her line of sight without batting an eyelid. His nose was filled with her unique fragrance. Ji Yuqi raised her eyebrows slightly and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "I'm not willing. I already have someone I like." Gu Fifan's eyes suddenly darkened. "Are you talking about the person who danced with your sister?" Ji Yuqi chuckled and didn't answer. She walked away. Dressed in black, she shuttled through the crowd of orioles and swallows. She was as dazzling as the stars surrounding the moon. Gu Fifan watched her walk away. His face was covered by the mask and his charming peach blossom eyes were like icicles. There had never been a woman who dared to give him face like this. Jiang Tianhao, he actually dared to snatch a woman from him. Was he tired of living? Ji Yuqi stood in the corner with her arms around her shoulders. She coldly looked in the direction of the dance floor. She saw that Yi Zixu and Jiang Tianhao's dance had become strange. The two of them hugged each other and kissed as if there was no one around. They even impatiently tore off each other's clothes. Poor Yi Zixu didn't even realize that half of her breasts were exposed. She even boldly stroked Jiang Tianhao's lower body. "Ah, my God, what are they doing? I didn't expect Yi Zixu to be so lewd despite her innocent appearance. Wow, her figure is really seductive. That man is actually Senior Jiang. My God, how can he be such a beast? He's simply too shameless. How can there be such a shameless person in our school? Don't look anymore. Hurry up and inform the security." The hall was noisy and noisy. Accusations and insults flooded into Ji Yuqi's ears. Her face didn't look good because in her previous life, the protagonists who suffered all this were her and Gu Fifan. Even the lines of abuse were the same. Later, her reputation in the rich circle was ruined. Coupled with some things that happened later, she was completely abandoned by those rich people. They would not accept a daughter-in-law who had a ruined reputation. Ji Yuqi clenched her fingers and forced herself to calm down. Because, the humiliation she suffered in her previous life, she would take it back 1,000 times. Ji Yuqi walked out of the hall expressionlessly. She was met with a group of reporters holding cameras. The one running at the front almost bumped into her. She leaned to one side and made way for the reporters to quickly run in. Unknowingly, it started to drizzle and the cold air hit her face. Ji Yuqi wrapped herself in her coat and took out her mobile phone. "Hello, Dad. I won't go home to sleep tonight. I'll go to the old house." "And I know." "Okay, you should rest early too." After hanging up the phone, she quickened her pace. She still had to rush to a place. Opposite Imperial Capital University was a leisure park. On a cold winter night like this, not a single person could be seen. It was dark and quiet all around. Ji Yuqi tried to calm her wildly beating heart as she walked into the small forest. She turned on the flashlight on her phone and carefully rummaged through every patch of grass. The sound of footsteps on the ground was especially clear in the silence of the night. "There's no one. Maybe he hasn't come yet." Ji Yuqi walked through the entire forest but did not find the person she wanted to see. So, she turned off the flashlight of her mobile phone. She did not care if she would dirty her clothes and directly sat on the wet lawn. She leaned against a tree and waited anxiously. Ji Yuqi was very nervous. She was looking forward to seeing him, but also afraid of seeing him. Even in the night, which was a few degrees below zero, her palms were sweating. As time passed, her heart beat even more violently. She clearly remembered that it was this day. Why hadn't he come yet? Could it be that things had changed and would not develop according to the trajectory of her previous life? Bang! A gunshot was heard. Ji Yuqi was shocked and trembled all over. She tightly hugged the tree trunk and controlled herself not to rush out. With her mediocre martial arts, even if she rushed out, she would only be a burden to him. Chaotic footsteps came from afar and dozens of black figures ran into the park. They were wearing masks and holding guns. Under the moonlight, they looked eerie. "Search, don't let him escape." Someone growled and 4 or 5 men in black immediately rushed into the forest. Bang bang. A few more gunshots were heard from the lake. "Quickly chase. He's over there." Dozens of people ran in the direction of the lake. The chaotic footsteps quickly disappeared. Ji Yuqi's heart was beating fast. Her hair on her forehead was already wet with sweat. She was so close to being discovered by the group of men in black. After confirming that the black-clothed man had left, Ji Yuqi clenched her teeth and crawled to her feet, intending to search for that person's whereabouts. She had just taken a step when her ankle was suddenly grabbed by someone. She was startled, and before she could react, the hand that grabbed her ankle suddenly pulled hard, causing her to fall backwards onto the ground. Then, a strong hand pinched her neck and a low and magnetic voice came from behind. "Don't make a sound." That voice was very familiar. It was Shen Jia. The smell of blood in the air was strong. A black figure crept beside her. Ji Yuqi could not help but tremble. It was not because of fear, but because of heartache, excitement, regret, and all kinds of complicated emotions in her heart. In her previous life, she was most sorry to Shen Jia. This time, she would not hurt him. In her previous life, she was set up by Yi Zixu and kissed Gu Fifan at the ball. Everyone criticized them and laughed at them. After she woke up, she was ashamed and ran into the park in a panic. She happened to meet the injured Shen Jia. But at that time, Shen Jia was almost unconscious and did not have the strength to pinch her neck. She brought him back to the old mansion for treatment and recuperation. From then on, their fates were intertwined. Thinking about her past life, Ji Yuqi's nose began to sting uncomfortably. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she grasped Shen Jia's hand that was strangling her neck. She really wanted to tell him that she missed him, but right now, they were just strangers. She held back her tears and said word by word, "Believe me, I won't hurt you." After waiting for a few seconds, his hand was still pinching her neck and he did not say anything. Ji Yuqi thought that he could not hold on any longer. Anxious and distressed, she hurriedly said, "My name is Ji Yuqi. I'm the daughter of Ji Bowen from Ji Group. You're seriously injured and need to be treated quickly. Believe me, I won't hurt you." After hearing her introduction, Shen Jia's hand finally loosened. Ji Yuqi hurriedly crawled to his side. With the help of the phone's light, she saw an extremely familiar face. He pressed one hand on his bleeding chest. Even though he was on the verge of fainting, his dark eyes were cold and sharp. His voice was hoarse. "Don't go to the hospital. Take me to a small clinic." He had gunshot wounds. If he went to the hospital, the police would be attracted. It was more likely that the assassins would be able to track him down. "Okay." Ji Yuqi did not have time to think. She hurriedly helped him up from the ground and leaned him on her shoulder. With one hand on his waist and the other holding the phone's light, she groped her way out of the forest. "Hold on a little longer. My car is parked outside." Ji Yuqi was so tired that she was panting. Suddenly, she realized that the person leaning on her shoulder was not responding. She turned her head to look. Shen Jia's head was drooping. He had already fainted. Ji Yuqi's heart clenched. She hurriedly helped him lean against a tree trunk. She quickly took off her high-heeled boots and threw them aside. Then, she bent down and carried him on her back. His weight almost pressed her down. She gritted her teeth, lifted his body on her back, and struggled to walk. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 794. The ground was very cold. Even though she was wearing wool socks, the bone-chilling coldness still spread from the soles of her feet to the rest of her body. She didn't care at all. Her eyes were firmly fixed in the direction of the car as she walked forward steadily with heavy steps. In the old district of the northern part of the city, there were many courtyards left behind. It was said that the people who used to live here were all people of high status. Ji Yuqi carried Shenji on her back and stepped into a courtyard. This was the old house left behind by her grandfather. She would stay here for a few days every year. Someone would clean it every half a month, so the room was clean and tidy, and there were all kinds of daily necessities. She put Shenji on the bed. She was so tired that she was sweating and her feet were almost frozen. She didn't have time to rest and ran to the kitchen to boil water. Last chi, last chi. An old but vigorous voice rang out. Ji Yuqi hurriedly went out to greet him, only to see a white-haired old man carrying a large medical kit, running towards her as if he was flying. "Io, little Chi, pity these old bones of mine, being called over by you in the middle of the night. Grandpa Tang, your medical skills are so good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have troubled you." Ji Yuqi smiled and took the medicine box. She led him to the bedroom. "Grandpa Tang, my friend is seriously injured. Please take a look at him." Tang Hejia panted and stroked his beard. Okay, don't worry. Let me catch my breath." He looked down and suddenly saw that she was only wearing socks. He immediately blew his beard and stared at her. "You little girl, why didn't you wear shoes? What if you freeze?" Tang Hejia and Ji Yuqi's grandfather, Su Zhonghang, were close friends. The Tang and Su families were old friends. Tang Hejia loved Ji Yuqi very much. "Grandpa Tang, I'm fine. Please take a look at my friend. He's bleeding a lot." Ji Yuqi was so anxious that she directly pushed him to the bed. "He won't die with me here. Chi girl, put on your shoes and come over to help me." Before Tang Hejia retired, he was a famous surgeon in the army. He could make a judgment just by looking at the position of Shenji's injury. All right. Ji Yuqi methodically took out the scalpels and other items from the medical kit. Although she had never studied medicine, under the influence of Tang Hejia, she still had a good understanding of these surgical instruments. Tang Hejia put on his mask and cut open Shenji's shirt with a pair of scissors. Suddenly, a muscular chest was exposed, followed by an abdomen with a six-pack. Although it was stained with blood, it didn't affect his charm at all. Ji Yuqi blushed, but then she felt ashamed. She was also a nurse now, so how could she have so many scruples? Pursing her lips, she picked up a hot towel and carefully cleaned up the bloodstains. Anesthetic. Tang Hejia stretched out his right hand. Ji Yuqi hurriedly placed the anesthetic needle in his hand. Scalpel. Surgical forceps. Hemostatic forceps. In the brightly lit room, a bullet removal operation was being carried out nervously. 2 hours later, Tang Hejia completed the last step and was drenched in sweat. He took off his mask and slowly breathed a sigh of relief. "Okay, girl, pay attention to his temperature tonight. If his fever is too high, give him the antipyretic medicine and use physical cooling methods." "Okay, I got it. Grandpa Tang, you must be tired. I'll take you to the guest room to rest." Ji Yuqi looked at his tired face and her heart was full of gratitude. "No need, I'll go by myself. I'm familiar with this place as if it's my own home. You must be tired too. Rest for a while." Tang Hejia said a few more words to her before leaving. Ji Yuqi took out a clean nightgown and toiletries from the wardrobe and sent to Tang Hejia's room. Then she went to the bathroom to take a shower. When she took off her socks, she found that the blisters on the soles of her feet were broken and the socks were stuck to the soles of her feet. When she took them off, she hissed in pain. After her shower, she changed into a set of home clothes and used alcohol to disinfect the soles of her feet. Then she covered herself with a blanket and stayed by Shenji's bedside. She leaned against the back of the chair and carefully looked at Shenji. In her previous life, she had focused all her attention on Jiang Tianhao and had never seen the good in Shenji. For the first time, she realized that Shenji was even more beautiful than a woman. His tall nose was as exquisite as a sculpture. His thin lips were perfect to the extreme, and his pale face did not affect his innate nobility and arrogance. She still remembered how magnificent his eyes were when he opened them. She still remembered that he gave up his eyes and gave up his light for her. Her heart ached. She reached out and covered his eyes with her hands and murmured, "Shenzhe, it's not too late. Shenzhe, in this life, I don't want you to sacrifice anything for me. Shenzhe, in this life, it's my turn to protect you." Ji Yuqi adjusted the clock and woke up every half an hour. She touched Shenzhe's forehead to see if he had a fever. It was past 5 in the morning. He indeed had a fever. His beautiful face was flushed. Ji Yuqi checked his temperature with a thermometer and found that his temperature had reached 38 degrees Celsius. Her heart tightened and she quickly poured a glass of warm water and took out some fever medicine. Shenzhe. Ji Yuqi wanted to wake him up to take the medicine but suddenly remembered that he was still a stranger to her. She could only gently pat his cheek. "Hey, wake up, wake up!" "Ah!" Thump. Ji Yuqi was sprawled on the floor, grimacing in pain. She looked at the culprit. She didn't know when Shenzhe had already sat up straight. His long and narrow eyes glowed with a cold light. His thin lips were tightly pursed, and his entire body was releasing a violent aura. He was like a ferocious leopard, staring at her warily. But if she took a closer look, she would find that his gaze was a little unfocused. It seemed that he was not really awake. Damn it, she actually forgot about Shenzhe's weird habit. That guy would never allow anyone to touch him when he was unconscious. She didn't understand why before, but after her rebirth, she could understand. His habit of being vigilant and on guard was obviously due to living in a dangerous environment for a long time. It was slowly cultivated. Thinking of this, her heart ached and she pitied him. Ji Yuqi rubbed her aching chest and stood up. She took a small step forward under a certain someone's dangerous gaze and said gently, "Don't be afraid, I'm Ji Yuqi. Do you still remember that I was the one who saved you from the forest today?" Shenzhe's deep eyes moved slightly and his brows furrowed. He seemed to be thinking hard, but also seemed to be trying hard to stay awake. Ji Yuqi did not rush him and stood quietly in front of the bed. His gaze gradually focused and became deep. After a long while, he moved his thin lips and said in a cold and indifferent voice, "What are you trying to do?" Ji Yuqi knew that he was completely awake. She heaved a sigh of relief and pointed to the cup of water and pills at the head of the bed. "You're running a high fever. I want to wake you up to take some fever medicine." Shenzhe glanced at the medicine and then at the white bandage wrapped around his chest. He said indifferently, "I'm not taking it, it's too bitter. Give me an ice pack." After saying this, he lay back on the bed and did not even look at Ji Yuqi. His awkward look was like a child who was throwing a tantrum. Ji Yuqi sighed. This person was still like a child, afraid of taking medicine. She took the ice pack and placed it on his head. Her fingers accidentally touched his forehead and she could not help but frown. "Your fever is very serious. I'll get some alcohol." Ji Yuqi soaked the gauze in the alcohol and twisted it. She wanted to help him wipe his neck and chest, but his cold eyes were staring at her and she could not do it. Pursing her lips, she ordered, "Close your eyes." Shenzhe's long eyelashes fluttered and a strange emotion flashed across his long and narrow eyes. He stared at her for 2 seconds and then closed his eyes. Ji Yuqi pursed her lips and smiled. She used the gauze soaked in alcohol to wipe his neck gently. She looked so serious that it was as if she was treating a precious treasure. As the cold gauze moved on his body, the coolness spread and the boiling heat in his body was alleviated. Occasionally, her fingertips would touch his skin and create ripples in his heart. He felt that the woman beside him was not a stranger, as if they had known each other in their previous lives. Ji Yuqi carefully avoided his wounds. After wiping his body, she covered him with the blanket. Just as she was about to get up, he suddenly grabbed her wrist and asked in a hoarse voice, "Can you sing?" The flush on his face had faded and his eyes were clear like a lake. He looked at her with an indifferent expression, but she felt that he was like a child who was asking for candy. She suddenly smiled. "What do you want to hear?" He thought about it seriously. "Anything is fine." The smile on her lips deepened. She sat back down beside him and sang softly. Her voice was gentle and tranquil. There was a faint melancholy in her delicate eyes, as if she was telling a touching story. His gaze gradually deepened. His heart, which had been cold for a long time, suddenly beat fiercely. Ji Yuqi looked at Shenzhe's peaceful sleeping face and smiled. Her hand reached out to his forehead, but before she could touch him, her hand froze and the smile on her lips became bitter. Shenjia, you said that when you see me smile, it's as if you have the whole world. Am I not the same? As long as I see you safe and sound, it's my greatest happiness. The next day, Ji Yuqi was awakened by the glaring sunlight. She found that she was sleeping on Shenjia's bed and there was no trace of him in the room. She hurriedly jumped out of bed and hurriedly put on a pair of slippers and ran out, shouting, Shenjia, Shenjia! Shenjia and Tang Hejia were chatting in the courtyard when they heard Ji Yuqi's panicked cries. They turned around and saw her in her cute plaid bare home clothes, her long messy hair draped over her shoulders as she ran out with an anxious expression. Shenjia frowned. This woman was wearing so little. Didn't she know that it was cold? For a moment, he didn't realize that there was anything wrong with her calling his name. Tang Hejia was dumbfounded. He had never seen the little girl lose her composure like this. He coughed and pretended to be serious as he said, Chi-Chi, what happened? Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 795. Ji Yuqi stopped in her tracks and stared blankly at Shenjia before turning to Tang Hejia. Her cheeks suddenly turned red and she laughed awkwardly. Haha, nothing. I just had a nightmare. You guys take your time talking. I'll go in first. Damn it, she thought Shenjia had left without saying goodbye. She didn't expect her image to be completely ruined. Also, Shenjia was really hateful. He was obviously seriously injured, but instead of lying in bed after waking up, he actually ran around and made her worry for nothing. After Ji Yuqi finished washing up, she saw that Shenjia and Tang Hejia had returned to the living room. She quickly went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Because she knew that she would be staying at the Gu mansion for a while, she had asked Ruru to buy food in advance and store it in the kitchen. The vegetables and fruits in the fridge were very fresh and the rice and noodles in the cupboard were neatly arranged. Ji Yuqi took a deep breath and made a cheering gesture. In her previous life, before she married Jiang Tianhao, she was still a pampered Mississippi. But after she got married, Jiang Tianhao didn't like her to show her face in public, so she obediently became a housewife. She learned how to do laundry, cook, and clean. She simply became his personal nanny. Ji Yuqi shook her head to get rid of distracting thoughts and began to cook seriously. Half an hour later. In the dining room, the three of them sat around the dining table. There was fragrant millet porridge, green stir-fried cabbage, dry-fried green beans, cold cucumber, and halved boiled eggs. One look and one's appetite was aroused. Tang Hejia stared at Ji Yuqi in disbelief. Little Ji Yuqi, did you make this? Ji Yuqi winked playfully. Of course I made it. Grandfather Tang, you worked hard last night. Come, eat some eggs to nourish yourself. I'll make chicken soup for you at noon. As she spoke, she put half of the egg into his bowl and then gave the other half to Shenjia. You eat too. Shenjia looked at her charming and adorable smile, and a warm current seemed to flow through his heart. It was very comfortable, and the cold and hard corners of his lips raised, then quickly straightened. Tang Hejia's eyes were brimming with tears. Poor Chi girl. Once you have a stepmother, you will have a stepfather. You must have had a hard time all these years. When your grandfather was alive, you were a spoiled little princess. When have you ever done such a thing? Did your father and stepmother force you to do it? Just you wait. I'm going to find Ji Bowen right now to settle the score. He patted the table and left. Ji Yuqi quickly grabbed his arm and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Grandpa Tang, you think too much. It has nothing to do with my father and Auntie Chen. I learned to do it myself. Really? Really? Tang Hejia looked at her suspiciously. Why are you learning all this? Ji Yuqi pulled him to sit down and winked at him with a smile. There's a good saying, if you want to capture a man's heart, you have to capture his stomach first. That's why I'm making plans for my future. I can't always be a rice worm who stretches out her hand and opens her mouth. Can I? Girl, even if you become a rice worm, no one will dare to despise you. Although he said that, Tang Hejia still felt very gratified. He sighed and said, Chi girl, you've grown up. If your grandfather was still alive, he would be very happy. Ji Yuqi's eyes reddened. Her grandparents only had one daughter, which was her mother. The couple doted on their daughter very much. When they had Ji Yuqi, their granddaughter, they doted on her even more. They couldn't wait to pluck the moon from the sky and give it to her. Okay, let's eat. I'll try Chi girl's cooking. Seeing her eyes redden, Tang Hejie smiled and picked up his chopsticks to change the topic. After the meal, Ji Yuqi washed the dishes in the kitchen. Tang Hejie forced Shen Zhe to lie down on the bed to recuperate. Tang Hejie glanced at the kitchen and then turned to Shen Zhe. His always kind face turned cold and he said in a deep voice, Shen Zhe, I don't care how you got injured or who you are. If you hurt Chi, I won't let you go. You have to believe that I have the ability to do so. With Tang Hejie's keen eyes, he had long seen that Shen Zhe was not an ordinary person. If Shen Zhe and Chi became enemies, he would not let him go. He was not an ordinary military doctor. He had a military rank. Moreover, with the power and status of the Tang family in the city, it was not difficult for him to deal with Shen Zhe. Being threatened so blatantly, Shen Zhe was not displeased. Instead, he raised the corner of his lips and a faint smile appeared on his handsome face. Mr. Tang, I, Shen Zhe, am not a villain who bites the hand that feeds him. Tang Hejie looked at him deeply, as if he wanted to see through his dark eyes and see his internal organs. He slowly said, That'd better be the case. Chi is a good girl. I won't let any harm come to her. Shen Zhe closed his thick eyelashes and seemed to have fallen asleep. It was not until Tang Hejie walked to the door that he heard him murmur, I won't either. Although his voice was low, it was very clear. Ji Yuqi had overheard everyone's conversation in the room. When she heard footsteps, she quickly blinked away the mist in her eyes. She smiled and pretended to be light-hearted as she walked up to him. Grandpa Tang, can you stay here for lunch today? Tang Hejie held his huge medical kit and smiled kindly. No need. I stayed out all night. Your Granny Tang must be worried. She has been talking about you for the past few days. When you have time, come and see us. Feng Grandpa Tang. Ji Yuqi knew what he wanted to say and quickly interrupted him. Grandpa Tang, I will visit you. Let me walk you to the door. She snatched the medical kit from his hand and held his arm with one hand. They walked out of the door intimately. Tang Hejie's expression was complicated. In the end, he sighed secretly. After watching the Tang family chauffeur take Tang Hejie away, Ji Yuqi was in a daze for a moment. In the end, she curled her lips and revealed a bright smile. The weather today was so good. It was so good to see those people who cared about her again. Shen Zhe leaned against the headboard with his eyes slightly closed. Ji Yuqi thought that he had fallen asleep. She quietly walked to the bed and tucked him in. Suddenly, a deep and magnetic voice sounded in her ears. Do you know me? Ji Yuqi's heart trembled. She suddenly raised her head. His obsidian eyes looked at her seriously. She chuckled. I don't know you. Last night was the first time we met. His tone was calm. You called my name in the courtyard, but I never told you. Her lips curved. You were talking in your sleep after you fainted. He raised his eyebrows and said lightly, That's the worst lie I've ever heard. She touched his forehead to make sure that his fever had subsided. She pursed her lips and smiled. You exposed me. I do know you. I saw your photo in the newspaper. As the eldest son of the Shin group, he had been secretly photographed by a reporter when he had just returned from abroad. Her palm was very cold. When her fingers glided over it, it felt soft like a feather. He said lightly. Why were you in the little forest? My sister stole my dance partner. I felt uncomfortable, so I went to the park to relax. She explained, I'm studying at the capital university. The school held a dance party last night. With that said, Ji Yuqi took a book from the desk and placed it beside his pillow. I have to go home. Someone will come to take care of you later. If you feel bored, you can read to pass the time. By the way, what size are you wearing? Shen Zhe glanced at the title of the book, Red and Black. His dark eyes seemed to flash under his long eyelashes. He calmly told her his size. Ji Yuqi nodded and said, I wrote my phone number on the post-it note. If you need anything, just call me. I'll be leaving first. Have a good rest. The scene of Yi Zixu and Jiang Tianhao making a fool of themselves at the gala had already made the headlines. People were saying that the rich miss was promiscuous and addicted to drugs, and that the rich man sacrificed his looks to climb up the social ladder. The pictures of the two of them kissing in disheveled clothes were described in an obscene manner. The comments were full of criticism. The two of them had now become well-known celebrities. Originally, the matter wouldn't have blown up so much. Who asked Yi Zissou to harm others and harm herself? She had hired a bunch of reporters to take pictures of Ji Yuqi's ugly behavior, but in the end, she had gotten herself into trouble. Ji Yuqi's lips curled into a sneer. She turned off her phone and started the car. After driving for less than 10 minutes, her phone suddenly rang. It was Ji Yunhan. Sis, are you still at the old mansion? Something big happened at home. Dad asked you to come back quickly. Okay, I got it. I'll be back soon. Big sis, why aren't you asking me what happened? Ji Yunhan paused for a moment before rejoicing in her misfortune. Yi Zissou is out of luck. Ji Yuqi chuckled. I saw the live version last night. Of course I know what happened. Ahan, Gigai, stay in the room. Don't get yourself into trouble. Okay sis, I'll listen to you. In less than half an hour, her car arrived at the Ji family's mansion. There was a group of reporters outside the mansion and even the gate was blocked. When they saw Ji Yuqi's car, they all swarmed over and asked at once. Miss, according to the news, the second miss has had 5 boyfriends. Is this true? Miss, according to the news, you and Zhang Tianhao are very close. Did the second miss come between you two? Miss, is it true that the second miss took drugs? Asterisk 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 Ji Yuqi sneered in her heart. Took drugs? Ha, sleeping with a man in front of so many people was indeed like being drugged. She pushed open the door amidst the dazzling flashing lights. She was wearing a white wool coat, a black short skirt, a pair of sheepskin boots, and a white woolen hat on her head. Her delicate face was decorated by her curly hair, making her look even more lustrous like jade. There was a faint smile on her lips, and her actions were elegant and generous, without the slightest embarrassment of being surrounded. Everyone, I believe that the innocent knows that they are innocent, and the muddy knows that they are muddy. I understand that everyone is eager to know the truth, but please understand the difficulties of the Ji family. Ji Yuqi's words were ambiguous. It depended on how others interpreted it. It could be understood that she was protecting Yi Zissou's innocence and didn't want the reporters to disturb the Ji family anymore. It could also be understood that she was implicitly saying that Yi Zissou was the stepdaughter of the Ji family. Even if Yi Zissou's conduct was questionable, the Ji family couldn't restrain her. Those reporters were all smart people. Based on her ambiguous words, they could speculate a lot of secrets of the rich families. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 796. As soon as Ji Yuqi entered the door, Nanny Wu, who was guarding the door, immediately came forward. She helped her take off her coat and said in a low voice, Miss Wan, the school leaders called last night. Master and Madam personally went to the school to pick up second Miss Wan. Early this morning, a group of reporters came outside the house. Master was so angry that he didn't even eat breakfast and went straight to the study. Madam scolded second Miss Wan and brought breakfast to the study, but she quickly brought it out. Ji Yuqi nodded. Nanny Wu, where's Ahan? Young master went back to his room to read after breakfast. Ji Yuqi nodded and said, Nanny Wu, ask the kitchen to prepare breakfast and send it to the study. I'll go see Dad first. Nanny Wu nodded and trotted away. When Ji Yuqi went upstairs, she bumped into Xiaoro. Seeing that there was no one around, she said in a low voice, Xiaoro, have you prepared the things I asked you to prepare? Yes. Although Xiaoro was curious why Miss wanted to prepare men's clothes, she cleverly didn't ask. Ji Yuqi smiled appreciatively. Very good. Xiaoro, send those things to the old house. I have a friend who lives there. Please take good care of him. If anyone asks, tell them that I asked you to go shopping. With that, her eyes moved slightly and she whispered a few words in Xiaoro's ear. Okay, I got it. Xiaoro glanced in the direction of Yi Zissou's room and said in a low voice, Yuqi, will Miss Wan find out about that? Ji Yuqi smiled. Don't be afraid. She won't find out. Xiaoro, I won't let her hurt you. Be careful. Don't let her find out that you're working for me. Xiaoro was moved and nodded heavily. Ji Yuqi knocked on the study door with breakfast and said softly, Dad, I'm Chi-Chi. Can I come in? Ji Bowen's tired voice came from the study. Come in. Ji Yuqi pushed the door open and entered. She saw Ji Bowen standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with a cigarette between his fingers. The room was filled with the smell of smoke. The sunlight shone through the curtains and shone on his body. She suddenly realized that there were white hairs on his head. She suddenly felt a little guilty. As a child, she had always been protected by her father, but she had never been filial to him. She sniffled and put the breakfast tray on the desk. She walked behind him and massaged his shoulders. She said softly, "Dad, I heard from Nanny Wu that you haven't eaten anything. It's not good for your health. Let's eat something first, okay?" Ji Bowen's fingers that were holding the cigarette trembled, and the ashes of the cigarette fell to the floor. His daughter's hand was massaging his shoulders, and it was very comfortable. The irritation in his heart also dissipated a little. "After hearing what you said, it seems that I'm really hungry. I've already prepared it for you. Dad, please help yourself." Ji Yuqi beamed. She took his arm and walked to the desk. Ji Bowen smiled. He actually didn't have much of an appetite, but when he saw his daughter looking at him expectantly, he turned his anger into appetite. He drank a glass of milk and ate a sandwich. Ji Yuqi didn't mention Yi Zissou. She thought about how Shenjia still had to recuperate in the Gu mansion for a few days. She had to find an excuse to go to the Gu mansion. She thought about it and said, "Dad, I want to renovate the Gu mansion. I saw that the flowers and plants in the yard were a little messy last night, and the paint on the door was peeling." Ji Bowen nodded. "The Gu mansion is a memento that your grandfather left for you and your sister. It should be well renovated. I'll find time to arrange this." Ji Yuqi quickly said, "It's okay, Dad. Let me arrange it. I've never done this kind of thing before. It's also a kind of training." Ji Bowen's smile deepened. "That's good. I'll leave this matter to you. Just tell me how much money you need." The atmosphere between father and daughter was very good. Ji Bowen temporarily forgot about his troubles. However, in the other room, a storm was brewing. "What's going on? How did you get involved with Zhang Tianhao?" Ever since she brought Yi Zissou back last night, Chen Tingfeng had been thinking of ways to appease Ji Bowen's anger. She hadn't had a chance to ask her daughter what happened. Yi Zissou's eyes were red and swollen. At the mention of this matter, she began to cry again. She choked and said, "I don't know what happened either. Tianhao and I were dancing. As we were dancing, I suddenly felt very hot. My heart was very irritable. When I woke up, Tianhao and I were already..." Yi Zissou didn't dare to recall that scene. She and Zhang Tianhao were almost naked. The two of them were tightly hugging each other and kissing wildly. If someone hadn't splashed cold water on them to wake them up, they would have done something inappropriate in public. When they separated in shock and panic, they were faced with people's mocking and accusations, as well as the sound of camera shutters. "All right, stop crying." Chen Tingfeng scolded irritably. She frowned and thought for a moment. Then she sneered. "This must be the doing of that B*TCH, Ji Yuqi. She already knew that there was a problem with the perfume you gave her, so she swapped the two of your perfume. So, the person in trouble is you." Yi Zissou was yelled at, and her sobs stopped abruptly. She widened her eyes in disbelief. "It can't be. She always trusted me." "Idiot!" Chen Tingfeng glared at her. "She's pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. If she didn't pretend to be close to you, would you lower your guard against her? This B*TCH. It seems like we underestimated her in the past." A few days ago, Chen Tingfeng had specially prepared 2 identical bottles of Chanel perfume. One of the bottles had a hallucinogen added to it. This hallucinogen was colorless and odorless, and was not harmful to the body. However, if the user drank alcohol, the hallucinogen would become an aphrodisiac. Originally, Yi Zissou had given the added perfume to Ji Yuqi. She wanted Ji Yuqi to make a fool of herself at the gala. They even hired reporters, intending to blow up the matter and ruin Ji Yuqi's reputation. Even if Ji Bowen doted on his daughter, he would definitely be unhappy with Ji Yuqi, who knew that the perfume would be swapped, and the one who would be ruined would be Yi Zissou. Yi Zissou thought about it carefully and felt that Chen Tingfeng's words made sense. She said angrily, "Ji Yuqi, that B*TCH, how dare she deceive me? I won't let her off. Mom, she made me lose face this time. I will pay her back double." Chen Tingfang frowned. Let's put the matter of dealing with Ji Yuqi aside for the time being. Why? Yi Zisu's voice was sharp. Mom, your daughter is being bullied by that B*TCH. Are you going to let her off just like that? Chen Tingfang poked her forehead with her finger and said angrily, How did I give birth to such a stupid daughter like you? The most important thing now is not to deal with Ji Yuqi, but to think of a way to solve your problem. You may be happy to be pointed at by others, but I can't afford to lose face. Yi Zisu hugged Chen Tingfang's arm in an attempt to please her. She giggled and said, Mom, I knew you wouldn't leave me in the lurch. Mom, you're the best. Chen Tingfang pulled her arm away and said, Get off me. I get annoyed when I see you, but her expression softened a lot. Yi Zisu could naturally see the change in her mood, so she acted even more coquettishly to please her. In the study, Ji Yuqi danced and talked about interesting things in school to make Ji Bowen happy. The father and daughter were laughing together when suddenly there was a knock on the door. Ji Yuqi quickly said, Dad, I'll open the door. Chen Tingfang stood at the door with a tray of snacks. When she saw Ji Yuqi, she smiled kindly. Yuqi, I brought some food for you and your father. Thank you, Auntie. Ji Yuqi smiled brightly and reached out to take the tray in her hand. She had no intention of inviting her in. Chen Tingfang's smile froze. She dodged her hand and said gently, Be careful, it's hot. Let me take it. As she spoke, she pushed her shoulder to the right, seemingly inadvertently pushing Ji Yuqi away from the door. Ji Yuqi slammed into the door with a loud bang. Ji Bowen was shocked. He walked quickly to Ji Yuqi. Chi-Chi, are you okay? Where does it hurt? Dad, don't be nervous. I'm fine. Ji Yuqi rubbed her sore arm pitifully and squeezed out an exaggerated smile. In Ji Bowen's eyes, this smile looked like his daughter forcing a smile so that he wouldn't worry. He was distressed and angry. His gaze suddenly turned to Chen Tingfang, who looked stunned. He scolded, Tingfang, what are you doing? Chen Tingfang opened her mouth and was about to speak when Ji Yuqi spoke first. Dad, don't be angry. It's not Auntie's fault. It's all my fault for blocking Auntie's way. Chen Tingfang's face turned pale. How could she not tell that Ji Yuqi was speaking up for her on the surface? But in reality, she was confirming that she had pushed Ji Yuqi. Sure enough, Ji Bowen's expression turned even uglier. Seeing that he was about to explode, Ji Yuqi hugged his arm and acted coquettishly. Dad, don't be angry with Auntie. Auntie didn't do it on purpose. Besides, I only bumped into her. I didn't hurt anywhere. How was this persuasion? It was clearly adding fuel to the fire. Chen Tingfang was fuming. She knew that she had been tricked by the little B*TCH, but she still had to smile apologetically. Chi-Chi, I'm really sorry. Auntie didn't do it on purpose. Auntie, don't worry. Of course, I know you didn't do it on purpose. You love me so much, so how could you intentionally bump into me? People say that stepmothers are ruthless, but you're the best stepmother I've ever seen. Ji Yuqi smiled innocently. Her flattery made Chen Tingfang extremely depressed. Looking at such a sensible daughter, Ji Bowen nodded comfortingly. Ji Yuqi knew when to stop. She didn't expect her father to see Chen Tingfang's ugly side in one go. She wanted to slowly plant a seed of disgust in his heart. One day, this seed would bloom and bear fruit, completely destroying their relationship. She knew that Chen Tingfang wanted to discuss Yi Zisu's matter with her father, so she very considerately left them some private space. Ji Yuqi walked to the stairs and heard a woman's shrill scream from downstairs. It's you. You're the one who harmed me. Her eyelids twitched. Interesting. What kind of game did Yi Zisu want to play? Yi Zisu wore a white dress and stood gracefully in the middle of the living room. She pointed her finger at the young maid kneeling on the floor. Her face was filled with anger, and her voice trembled from agitation. Why did you harm me? What did I do wrong to you? Ji Yuqi crossed her arms and leaned against the railing. The corners of her lips curled up playfully as she looked at the maid, Xiaofan. In her previous life, she was Chen Tingfang and her daughter's lackey. Xiaofan trembled, her face filled with fear as she begged for mercy. Second miss, I beg you, please spare me. I didn't do it on purpose, I just... Before she could finish her words, her tears had already flowed down. Ad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 797. Yi Zissou said angrily. What are you? If you don't tell me the truth, I'll send you to the police station immediately. No, Second Mississippi. Xiaofan hurriedly knelt a few steps forward and hugged Yi Zissou's calf. She cried and begged. Second Miss, I beg you, please forgive me. I was just confused for a moment. Yi Zissou's expression changed. She raised her arm and slapped Xiaofan hard on the face. She said sternly, You caused me so much trouble, and now you want to erase everything by saying that you were confused for a moment? Do you think I'm a fool? Xiaofan cried with a bright red handprint on her face. She didn't defend herself and just kept kowtowing, begging Yi Zissou to let her go. Ji Yuqi's smile deepened. As she expected, Chen Tingfang and her daughter were unwilling to admit defeat and started to fight back. What are you doing? Ji Bowen appeared at the staircase with a gloomy face. His sharp gaze swept over Xiaofang's red and swollen cheeks. He looked at Yi Zissou with even more displeasure. Miss, a rich man's daughter, actually hit and scolded a servant. Even he heard it from upstairs. What a scandal! Zissou, who had always been gentle and magnanimous, seemed to have changed into a different person. He was really disappointed. Speaking of which, this was also Chen Tingfang's responsibility as a mother. Thinking of this, he turned to look at Chen Tingfang, who was standing next to him. The displeasure in his eyes was self-evident. Chen Tingfang saw that the situation wasn't good. She quickly put on a guilty expression and deliberately scolded, Zissou, what are you doing? Why are you making such a ruckus? Yi Zissou's eyelashes fluttered and tears filled her eyes. She said pitifully, Mom, Uncle, I found out something, so I got too excited. I'm sorry. Chen Tingfang asked in surprise. What is it? Is it related to Xiaofan? Yi Zissou's eyes were brimming with tears. She bit her lips and wanted to say something but couldn't. She could only stomp her feet and say in embarrassment and anger, Xiaofan, you say it. Say what you did in front of everyone again. Xiaofang's entire body trembled. She lay on the ground, not daring to raise her head or speak. She could only kowtow and beg for mercy. Ji Bowen frowned and scolded in a deep voice. Stand up and explain everything clearly. Ji Bowen rarely lost his temper at the servants, but once he lost his temper, no one dared to provoke him. Xiaofan knew his character very well, so she didn't dare to escape anymore. She stood up timidly, lowered her head and stammered, Master, Madam, it's my fault. I added hallucinogens in Second Miss perfume, which made her make a fool of herself at the party. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Ji Bowen's pupils shrank, and his face was so gloomy that water could be squeezed out of it. Chen Tingfang rushed up with red eyes. You damned woman. How dare you harm my daughter? I'll fight it out with you. Mom, don't be agitated. Yi Zissou quickly stopped her and looked at Ji Bowen with expectation and trust. Mom, I believe that Uncle will definitely stand up for me. Ji Bowen's expression relaxed, and his tone became even more severe. Xiaofan, why did you do this? Xiaofan shrank back and said in a trembling voice, I hate Second Mississippi. I accidentally broke a vase a few days ago, and she asked the butler to deduct half of my salary. I worked so hard to earn my hard-earned money, and she deducted it just like that. I hate her. Ji Bowen called the butler over, and the butler testified that such a thing had indeed happened. Ji Yuqi, who had been watching the drama for a long time, raised her eyebrows. The motive for the crime sounded quite reasonable. She glanced at Yi Zissou, who had an aggrieved expression that said, I was framed, and then at Chen Tingfang, who looked furious. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and she said gently, Dad, I have a few questions to ask Xiaofan. Can I? Ji Bowen nodded. In fact, he also had doubts about this matter, and he wanted to hear his daughter's opinion. Ji Yuqi's voice suddenly became stern. Xiaofan, raise your head. Xiaofang's body trembled. She slowly raised her head, and her eyes were red. She looked a little pitiful. Ji Yuqi looked straight into her eyes and said, Since you've admitted that you drugged her, tell me, where did you buy the medicine? When did you buy it? When did you drug her? Did anyone testify for you? How did Second Miss find out? The series of questions shot at Xiaofan like bullets. She couldn't help clenching her fingers in panic and mumbling, I contacted the seller through the internet. I bought it on the 22nd and drugged it on the 23rd. No one testified. I've been hiding it from everyone. As she spoke, she knelt on the ground with a thud and sobbed. Eldest young miss, I didn't know that the matter would blow up to this extent. I was scared, so I confessed my mistake to second young Mississippi master, madam. I've let the G family down. I've let second miss down. Please spare me on account of my loyalty and diligence in the past few years. Ji Yuqi sneered. Your salary was deducted because of your mistake, and you're waiting for an opportunity to take revenge on your master. You call this loyalty? Xiaofan, when you did all this, have you ever thought about your parents? They'll be laughed at for having a daughter like you. They'll never be able to raise their heads. You still have a brother in high school, right? If he knows that his sister is in prison and the family's source of income is cut off, will he still be in the mood to study? No, he'll drop out of school and go out to work at a young age. He'll become the second you. Ji Yuqi's questions were like iron hammers pounding on Xiaofang's heart. Even though she had received a sum of money to ensure that her family would not have to worry about food and clothing, she still collapsed to the ground in fear. However, she had already come this far and could no longer turn back. She gritted her teeth, kneeled a few steps, and threw herself at Ji Yuqi's feet. She cried and begged. Eldest miss, please spare me. You were the one who told me to do this. I was only following your orders. Please don't leave me alone. Ji Yuqi stared at Xiaofan expressionlessly. Her eyes were getting colder. Xiaofan, I've already given you a chance to tell the truth, but you're so stubborn. Don't blame me for being cold-blooded and heartless. Yi Zixu smirked proudly. Humph, Ji Yuqi, let's see what else you have to say. Chen Tingfang clenched her fists in anger. She had only wanted Xiaofan to take the blame for drugging her, but now Xiaofan had implicated Ji Yuqi. It was obvious that Zixu had instructed her. Zixu was an idiot. Why didn't she understand that Ji Bowen doted on Ji Yuqi so much that he wouldn't believe a servant's words? This would only backfire and make Ji Bowen suspect them instead. As expected, Ji Bowen, who had always been lenient to his servants, was furious. He kicked Xiaofang's shoulder and sent her to the ground. You evil servant, how dare you frame Miss? Old Wang, call the police immediately and send this evil servant to the police station. Xiaofan was in so much pain that she couldn't move at all. She was still shouting that she was innocent. Ji Bowen was furious and ordered the butler to gag her mouth. Even after the police car left with Xiaofan, Ji Bowen's anger still hadn't subsided. Ji Yuqi hugged his arm and acted coquettishly and cutely. Finally, he couldn't help but laugh. Ji Yuqi leaned against his arm and said emotionally, Dad, thank you for believing in me. Ji Bowen stroked her hair lovingly. You're my daughter. Of course I believe in you. He had already informed the police chief and asked them to interrogate Xiaofan. If Xiaofan was stubborn and refused to let go of Yuqi, he would let her know that the Ji family wasn't to be trifled with. Ji Yuqi's eyes turned red and she mumbled, Dad, I must have offended Xiaofan somehow. That's why she framed me like this. Ji Bowen's heart skipped a beat. Yuqi was innocent and couldn't see through the strangeness of the matter, but he did. Xiaofan said that she felt guilty and confessed to Yi Zixu about drugging her. If Yuqi was really behind it, why didn't Xiaofan say it from the beginning? Why did she wait until she was convicted of drugging Yuqi? If he didn't trust Yuqi and Yuqi was accused of framing her sister, then Yi Zixu would be the one to benefit from this matter. His feelings told him that Yi Zixu was a kind girl and wouldn't do such a thing. However, his rationality told him that Yi Zixu was suspicious. If Yi Zixu had directed this show, then did Chen Tingfang know about it? Ji Bowen's feelings were complicated. In the end, his feelings overwhelmed his rationality, and he convinced himself that Chen Tingfang and her mother were innocent. However, there was a thorn in his heart. Chen Tingfang knew that things weren't going well, so she acted even more submissive and tried to please Ji Bowen and Ji Yuqi gently. Ji Yuqi didn't want to see her fake smile, so she found an excuse to leave. When Ji Yuqi arrived at the mansion, Ruru was carrying 2 bags of trash. When she saw Ji Yuqi, she quickly threw down the trash bags and walked up to her with a smile. Chi-Chi, you're here. Is Yi Zixu in big trouble? Ji Yuqi pursed her lips and smiled. She briefly explained what happened in the Ji family and said, although we won this time, we can't let our guard down. They won't admit defeat so easily. Ruru nodded heavily. She admired Ji Yuqi very much. At first, Yuchi guessed that Yi Zissou was going to use perfume to plot against her, so she asked Ruru to switch the perfume with the knockout powder. She also guessed that Yi Zissou wouldn't let it go and might find someone to take the blame. Therefore, she asked Ruru to investigate the situation of all the servants in the house. That was how Yuchi knew about Xiaofang's family. Even if Ruru didn't see it with her own eyes, she could imagine the scene of Yi Zissou's failure. Yuchi looked in the direction of the bedroom. Ruru, how is Shenjia? Mr. Shen is in good spirits, but he doesn't have a good appetite. He only ate half a bowl of rice for lunch. Oh, by the way, Mr. Shen asked me to burn the clothes he changed into. Those clothes were stained with blood and bullet holes. Ruru's heart was pounding when she burned them. She moved closer to Yuchi and whispered, Chi-Chi, that person was shot. Could he be from the underground organization? Will we get into trouble? No, he won't. Shenjia is a good person. Someone wanted to harm him, so he got injured. Yuchi's tone was particularly serious. Ruru, he is my friend. He won't harm us. Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 798. Xiao knew what she meant and hurriedly said, I understand. I won't tell anyone. Yuchi smiled gratefully and then asked Xiao to find some men's clothes, wash them, and hang them on the clothesline in the yard. Xiao didn't understand her intention. She blinked mysteriously. Fishing. This is the bait. Xiao touched her head. She still didn't understand, but she believed in Yuchi. Stepping into the room, hot air hit her in the face. Shenjia was lying on the mahogany recliner with his eyes closed. His long eyelashes cast a faint shadow under his eyelids. His handsome face was like a sculpture. Yuchi walked to his side gently and bent down to take the book on his lap. As soon as her fingers touched the book, he opened his eyes. His pair of black gem-like eyes didn't have the confusion of just waking up. There was only innate coldness and indifference. Her heart couldn't help but tremble. She pursed her lips and smiled. You're awake. Yes. An imperceptible warmth appeared in his cold eyes. Actually, he hadn't fallen asleep. He even heard her and Xiao's conversation outside the door. She trusted him. This knowledge made his mood exceptionally good. Yuchi put the book aside and took a blanket to cover his legs. She said gently, I heard from Xiao that you don't have a good appetite. I know a good private restaurant. What do you want to eat? I'll get them to send it over. Shenjia's thin lips curved slightly. Do you know how to make century egg and lean meat porridge? Yuchi raised her eyebrows and smiled. Yes. Wait for a while. I'll be back soon. The soft and glutinous century egg and lean meat porridge was cooked quickly. There was also a plate of cold cucumber and a plate of stir-fried broccoli on the table. The emerald green color and fragrant aroma aroused Shenjia's appetite. One look and one could tell that he was well educated. Even though his chest was injured, his sitting posture was extremely upright and his movements were extremely elegant, just like a high and mighty aristocrat. Watching him eat was a kind of enjoyment. Yuchi sat opposite him and rested her chin on one hand. She didn't hide the smile on her face. She was very happy that his appetite had been stimulated. Under a certain someone's burning gaze, Shenjia was not embarrassed at all. He casually and elegantly enjoyed the delicious food. As the warm porridge entered his esophagus, even his heart was warmed. He occasionally raised his eyes to meet her gaze, and the smile on her face became even more brilliant. Her relaxed eyebrows seemed to be sprinkled with sunlight, and her exquisite facial features had a different kind of peerless beauty. He couldn't help but curl his lips in response to this extremely sincere smile, faintly feeling that something was out of his control. The setting sun shone softly on the window lattice, and the room was filled with light and dreamy music. Yuchi and Shenjia were lying on two reclining chairs side by side, each holding a book in their hands. The atmosphere was indescribably warm and harmonious. After dinner, Yuchi called her father and told her that she would stay in the old house tonight and would not go home. Before ending the call, Yuchi's father suddenly said, Chi-Chi, no matter what happens, Dad will believe in you. Yuchi thought that he was talking about what happened in the morning and felt very touched. Then she called Ruru, who had already returned to the villa, and reminded her of some things. When she called, She didn't have any intention of avoiding suspicion in front of Shen Jia. Shen Jia also acted as if he hadn't heard anything and browsed the news on his phone. When he saw the headline, Miss G made a fool of herself at the ball, the mastermind behind it is Big Miss G, his brows furrowed slightly. Ji Yuqi hung up the phone. Seeing that Shen Jia didn't look too good, she thought that his wound was hurting again and hurriedly brought him painkillers. Shen Jia shook his head and pursed his thin lips. He wanted to say something but stopped. She had a feeling that he didn't want her to be hurt. The way he looked at her was a little strange. It seemed to be sympathy? Ji Yuqi blinked in confusion. What's wrong with you? Shen Jia wanted to hide it from her, but on second thought, if he didn't tell her now, she might be even more hurt if she found out about it at another occasion. He handed his phone to her and stared at her with his dark eyes, hiding an imperceptible worry. Ji Yuqi took the phone curiously and glanced at it briefly. The maid, Xiaofan, admitted that Ji Yuqi had instructed her to frame Yi Zixu. Xiaofan also said that Ji Yuqi had always been secretly in love with Jiang Tianhao, but Jiang Tianhao's heart was on Yi Zixu, so Ji Yuqi deliberately played tricks to embarrass them. Ji Yuqi's expression didn't change, but the little person in her heart was laughing coldly. Humph, Xiaofan had already been taken to the police station. She couldn't have leaked the information to the media, unless someone impersonated her and threw this so-called evidence to the media. Yi Zixu was really ruthless. After one failed move, she came up with another. Shen Jia had been paying attention to her expression. Seeing her calm face, a look of admiration flashed in his eyes. He said lightly, "Do you need my help?" Ji Yuqi was slightly stunned. In her previous life, whenever she was in trouble, Shen Jia was always the first to appear in front of her and solve it for her. In this life, she didn't want to implicate him, and she didn't want him to see her vicious and cold-blooded. She pursed her lips and shook her head gently. "No need. I'll handle this matter myself. You should rest. I live next door. If you need anything, just call me." The snow-white walls, the empty corridor, and the sound of footsteps became clearer. Ji Yuqi stood at the end of the corridor in a white hospital gown and looked at the familiar figure walking out of the smoke. Her heart beat rapidly and her throat tightened. Shen Jia! She ran towards that person with ecstasy, as if she had been searching for him for thousands of years. That person turned his head. His pair of empty, gray eyes were unfocused, and the indifferent expression on his handsome face made her panic. "Shen Jia, your eyes?" She froze in place in shock. She reached out to grab his arm, but she grabbed empty air. His figure had quickly retreated a few meters and then disappeared into the fog. "Shen Jia!" Ji Yuqi abruptly woke up from her dream. Her entire body was drenched in sweat, and her mind was still filled with boundless despair. She threw off the blanket and got out of bed. She ran out of the room barefoot and pounded on the door next door like a madwoman. Shen Jia was awakened by the woman's panicked cries. His gaze suddenly turned cold. He quickly walked to the door and opened it. Before he could open his mouth to ask what had happened, a delicate body with a cold aura had already thrown itself into his arms. She hugged him and wailed. "Shen Jia, Shen Jia!" She cried heartbreakingly as she called out his name over and over again. The fear, and attachment in her voice made his chest tighten uncontrollably. He slowly raised his left hand that was originally hanging stiffly by his side and wrapped it around her waist. His bottomless eyes stared at the woman in his arms. Her face was pressed against his chest, and her hot tears soaked the white bandage. His wound was throbbing with pain, but for some reason, he couldn't bear to push her away. Her cries of despair gradually weakened, turning into soft sobs. By the time Ji Yuqi completely woke up, she was already lying in Shen Jia's arms, sitting on the edge of his bed. "Sorry, I just had a nightmare." She frantically withdrew from his arms and awkwardly wiped the tears from her face. She glanced at his chest in embarrassment and mumbled, "I just touched your wound. Is it okay?" Shen Jia looked at her red nose and red eyes like a rabbit's. He couldn't help but frown. Instead of answering, he asked, "What nightmare did you have? Why are you crying like that?" Of course, Ji Yuqi wouldn't tell him that she was reborn. She also wouldn't tell him that ever since she was reborn, she hadn't had a good night's sleep. Every night, she was tormented by nightmares and tortured by hatred. Her mind was constantly stretched taut, afraid that if she took one wrong step, she would step into the trap that Chen Tingfang and her daughter had set for her. Every time she faced Yi Zixu and Jiang Tianhao, she had to use all her rationality to suppress the resentment in her heart. She also had to pretend that she didn't know anything. No one knew how hard it was for her. She lowered her eyes slightly to hide the bone-piercing sadness in her eyes. The corners of her lips stiffened as she said in a low voice, "I dreamt that a monster was chasing me. I asked you for help and called out your name loudly." Her voice became lower and lower as it trembled. "But you shook off my hand and disappeared." Under the light, she exuded an indescribable sadness. The strong loneliness in her words made his heart tremble. His chest felt stuffy, and his heart seemed to beat even harder. He couldn't help but reach out his hand. His warm palm landed on her soft hair and gently pressed it. His deep voice was as pleasant as a cello. "Don't cry. Dreams are all fake." After saying that, he seemed to sense that something was wrong. He quickly retracted his hand and supported his chin with his left hand. He coughed softly, and the tips of his fair ears were dyed a light pink. Fortunately, Ji Yuqi had her head lowered and didn't notice. The next morning, when Ji Yuqi saw Shen Jie, she suddenly recalled the scene of her crying in his arms last night. Her cheeks instantly burned. Fortunately, Shen Jie didn't mention a word. It was as if nothing had happened last night. The two of them finished breakfast in silence. Ji Yuqi tidied up the kitchen and saw Shen Jie standing in the courtyard. Beside him, little yellow flowers were blooming around the Four Seasons osmanthus. The cold fragrance was refreshing. He was wearing a white coat and black trousers. The contrasting colors of white and black made him look even more beautiful. He leaned lazily and elegantly against the tree trunk. His gaze was distant, as if he was thinking about something. Seeing his obsidian-like eyes, Ji Yuqi's heart trembled. She quickly lowered her head to hide her emotions. After a while, she looked up and revealed a gentle smile. "Shen Jie, I have 2 classes in the morning. I'll go to school. I'll be back early. What do you want to eat for lunch? I'll buy it on the way back." Shen Jie slowly retracted his gaze from the sky and looked at her intently. "Do you know how to make Westlake vinegar fish and mushroom fried chicken?" Ji Yuqi raised her eyebrows. This man was really impolite. He treated her as his personal chef. However, why didn't she feel unhappy at all? Instead, she was very happy. Ji Yuqi parked the car in the school's parking lot and then went to the dormitory to get her textbooks. Wang Jing and Xia Yan, who used to have a good relationship with her, looked as if they had seen a ghost when they saw her. They kept their distance and looked at her with disdain. On the other hand, Lin Yushi, who had never interacted with her, said, "Good morning," indifferently. "Good morning." Ji Yuqi smiled brightly. "Yushi, let's go together, okay?" Lin Yushi was slightly startled. Then she faintly said, "Okay." After the two of them went out, they heard Wang Jing whisper, "Shameless. I didn't expect her to be so vicious." Lin Yushi turned to look at Ji Yuqi and calmly explained, "The news said that you ordered the servants to poison Yi Zixu." They believed it. Ji Yuqi knew that Wang Jing was scolding her, but she didn't care. In her previous life, she saw Wang Jing and Xia Yan's true colors. Their family backgrounds weren't as good as hers and they liked to hug her thighs. They always said in her ear, "Yuqi, your Louis Vuitton bag is so beautiful. Can you lend it to me?" And, "Yuqi, your Givenchy dress is so beautiful. Can I try it on?" The implied meaning was self-evident. She was generous when it came to money and gave them a lot of gifts. However, later on, when Ji Yuqi caused a scandal at the ball, the two of them were the happiest to hit her when she was down. Ji Yuqi smiled faintly. "Let them scold me. No matter how hard they scold me, I won't lose a piece of flesh." Lin Yushi was startled. "Ji Yuqi, you've changed. If it was in the past, you would definitely quarrel with them." Ji Yuqi playfully blinked. "You were bitten by a dog. You can't bite back, right?" Lin Yushi's beautiful face, which had always been cold, revealed a smile. "Of course not. You'll only disgust yourself if you bite back." Ji Yuqi held her hand and said seriously, "Yushi, thank you." She thanked her for not saying anything bad about her in her previous life. She also thanked her for believing in her in this life. Lin Yushi didn't say anything and just held her hand. On the way to the school building, countless disdainful and malicious gazes intertwined on Ji Yuqi. They pointed at her and whispered about her vicious behavior. Ji Yuqi walked in the midst of the scolding with a calm expression. Lin Yuxi held her hand comfortingly and she responded with a warm smile. Ji Yuqi, you're too vicious. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. An angry and low male voice suddenly sounded. Ji Yuqi looked at the man not far away with a complicated expression. He was Tang Feng. He was Tang Hejia's grandson and Ji Yuqi's childhood sweetheart. The two of them had agreed to be engaged when they were very young. They were originally very close and Ji Yuqi had always liked him. However, everything changed after Yi Zixu entered the Ji family. Tang Feng became more and more distant from Yuqi and closer to Yi Zixu. He became Yi Zixu's guardian angel. He told Yuqi more than once that he wouldn't marry her. Yuqi thought that she wasn't good enough, so she studied hard and tried to change her bad temper. However, he said, "It's useless no matter how good you are. The person I like is not you." Later, Yuqi and Gu Fifan caused a scandal at the ball. Tang Feng didn't even want to maintain the harmony on the surface. Ignoring the Tang family's objections, he proposed to the Ji family to cancel the engagement. Ji Bowen felt that his daughter had wronged Tang Feng, so he could only agree. After the engagement was cancelled, Tang Feng openly pursued Yi Zixu. The two of them caused a stir in the school. Ji Yuqi would always become Yi Zixu's foil. One was a slut, the other was a noble white lotus. She was trampled into the mud by Yi Zixu. Every time Ji Yuqi was hurt, Jiang Tianhao would appear like a god to save her. Slowly, she was moved by his gentleness and was intoxicated by his thoughtfulness. It could be said that Tang Feng was one of the important people who pushed Ji Yuqi into Jiang Tianhao's arms. Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 799. Scenes of the past surfaced in her mind. During the darkest period of her life, she had hated Tang Feng. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. But now, seeing him angrily settling scores with her and fighting for Yi Zixu, Ji Yuqi suddenly didn't want to hate him. She only felt that he was pitiful. He loved a beautiful snake, but he was played by her and ended up in such a miserable state. He was just a pitiful person. After Ji Yuqi thought it through, the ruthless aura that she was releasing instantly retracted. She looked coldly at Tang Feng holding Yi Zixu's hand and walking in front of her. Tang Feng was very handsome, with straight eyebrows and bright eyes. Because he was born into a military family and had been in the army for a few years, he exuded an awe-inspiring righteousness. He was tall and straight, standing in front of Ji Yuqi like a towering mountain. His handsome eyebrows were tightly knitted, and his deep eyes were surging with anger. Ji Yuqi, when did you become so vicious? Just because I don't love you, you want to destroy Zixu? Ji Yuqi looked at him in amusement. Tang Feng was the most outstanding grandson of the Tang family. Since young, he had a sense of superiority. To put it nicely, it was arrogance. To put it bluntly, it was self-righteous. She chuckled. Tang Feng, you're thinking too much. Her gaze was filled with pity, and her smile was filled with faint mockery. This made Tang Feng, who was favored by the heavens, very uncomfortable. How could his little tail, who had been following him around since young, look at him with such a gaze? Clearly, she was very sad when he said that he wouldn't marry her some time ago. That's right, it must be a disguise. Zixu had said that Ji Yuqi was very good at disguising herself. There was a hint of disgust in Tang Feng's eyes as he said with a cold face, Ji Yuqi, do you know how important reputation is to a girl? You actually framed Zixu and caused her to lose face at the ball. I order you to apologize to her immediately. Big brother, you, forget it. Big sister didn't do it on purpose. Don't make things difficult for her. Yi Zixu hugged Tang Feng's arm and timidly hid beside him. She was like a delicate little white flower. Tears were about to fall from her beautiful big eyes. She was really lovable. Sure enough, when Tang Feng saw her tear-stained and delicate appearance, the love and pity in his heart grew even stronger. The gaze he used to look at Ji Yuqi became even colder. Ji Yuqi, apologize immediately. Ji Yuqi said indifferently, how do you want to apologize? Do you want me to go to the radio station and admit in front of all the teachers and students that I'm a vicious and shameless woman who framed my gentle and beautiful sister? Or, do you want me to kneel in front of all these people and beg for your forgiveness? How does that sound? Tang Feng was stunned. He had never thought of that. When he was young, he also liked his little sister Yuqi. She was obedient and cute, but later on, she changed. She became vicious, unruly, and always bullied Zissou. He came to find her full of anger and asked her to apologize to Zissou. It was not only to seek justice for Zissou, but also because he was heartbroken for her. Even so, he had never thought of embarrassing her in front of the whole school. His eyes were dark and unreadable. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but Yi Zissou beat him to it and said, "No, big sister, big brother, you didn't mean that. Don't be angry with big brother you, okay? It's all my fault." Ji Yuqi didn't even look at her. She stared straight at Tang Feng and smiled. Her smile was very gentle and poignant. "Big brother Tang Feng, how do you want me to apologize? Just tell me and I'll do it." Big brother Tang Feng. In his memory, that delicate little girl always called him so softly. Tang Feng's heart softened and his expression softened. "Yuqi, you did something wrong, so you should apologize. Say sorry to Zissou." Ji Yuqi sneered in her heart. Sure enough, all men liked Yi Zissou's gentle and lovely style. The corner of her lips curled up slightly as she said softly, "All right, I'll do whatever big brother Tang Feng says." Then she looked at Yi Zissou and smiled gently. "Zissou, I'm sorry. Yi Zissou, I'll let you be arrogant for a few more days. The more arrogant you are now, the more miserable you'll be when that matter is exposed. It's okay, big sister. I've never blamed you." Yi Zissou had a bright smile on her face, but she was vomiting blood in her heart. She deliberately urged Tang Feng to find trouble with Ji Yuqi, not to hear her apologize, but to see them turn against each other. Ji Yuqi smiled at Tang Feng again. Her smile was sad. "Big brother Tang Feng, although I've listened to you and apologized, I still want to make it clear. Whether you believe it or not, I've never instructed Xiaofan to harm Zissou." She wasn't lying. She had instructed Xiaofan, haha. After saying that, without waiting for Tang Feng's response, she took Lin Yuxi's hand and walked away. Tang Feng's eyes narrowed as he looked at her straight back. Even if she was submerged in the crowd, she was still very conspicuous. She was like a red plum, proud and noble, but also had a coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away. Why did he have a feeling that he had suddenly lost something? Yi Zissou shook his arm and said softly, "Big brother you, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I caused a misunderstanding between you and big sister." Tang Feng came back to his senses. "It's not your fault, Zissou. Class is about to start. Let's go." For Ji Yuqi, this was a day full of troubles. When she and Lin Yuxi walked into the classroom, a rag flew at them. Ji Yuqi quickly took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Yuxi. Then, she reached out to block it. The rag fell at her feet, but her clothes were stained with black ink. A few drops of ink even splashed on her fair cheeks. It was very eye-catching. "Ji Yuqi, you black-hearted woman. Black really suits you. Look at her now. Doesn't she look like a dusty groundhog? Ha ha ha. Don't be like this. She's the dancing queen of this year's Christmas ball." Dancing queen? I think she's more like an old witch. "Yuqi." Lin Yuxi was shocked. She quickly took out a tissue and wiped the ink off Ji Yuqi's face. She quickly said, "Yuqi, ignore them. I'm fine." Ji Yuqi's heart warmed. She did not stop her. She looked up and looked indifferently at the people who were mocking her. They were a group of rich second generations. Just because their families were rich, they acted like tyrants in school. The leader was called Xiao Ren. He looked like a hooligan and treated Yi Zissou as his goddess. He could not wait to follow behind her every day. Now that their goddess was in trouble, of course they had to stand up for her. Ji Yuqi's eyes were cold and clear. Although her red coat was dirty and her hair was a bit messy, her aloof and otherworldly temperament and calm expression made everyone feel a little guilty. She did not question or explain. She looked straight ahead and walked step by step to the seat she was used to sitting in. Lin Yuxi naturally sat beside her. The atmosphere in the classroom became strange. Xiao Ren and the others who were still provoking and cursing suddenly shut their mouths. Things were not over yet. After class, Ji Yuqi went to the washroom. She was tidying her clothes in the cubicle when a basin of cold water fell from the sky, drenching her from head to toe. Outside the cubicle, the girl's arrogant laughter could be heard. January was the cold season. Even though there was a heater in the washroom, her face was still blue from the cold water. When she came out of the cubicle, the group of girls who were teasing her had disappeared. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled coldly. Yuchi, are you okay? A well-defined hand appeared in front of her eyes and pushed away the wet hair covering her forehead, revealing a pair of large misty eyes. Yuchi stared blankly at the man in front of her. His tall and slender figure and handsome face were full of worry. He took off his coat and draped it over her shivering body. He held her shoulders and anxiously called out, "Yuchi? Yuchi?" Tears as big as beans fell from her eyes and slowly flowed down her pale face. Her lips that had turned purple from the cold trembled. "Senior," Zhang Tianhao breathed a sigh of relief. His handsome brows quickly furrowed again. He said angrily, "Did they bully you? Tell me who they are. I won't let them off." Yuchi shook her head and stubbornly wiped away her tears. Her beautiful face glowed with pride. "Forget it. Don't argue with them. Senior, thank you." It was rare for the arrogant girl to show a delicate expression. She pretended to be strong, and this caused Zhang Tianhao to feel more pity for her than a delicate little white flower. His expression became gentler and his brows were full of tenderness. He said gently, "Yuchi, don't think too much. Those things will pass." Yuchi nodded, touched. "Senior, you have to believe me. I didn't do those things that were reported on the news." Zhang Tianhao gently stroked the hair by her ear. "Of course I believe you. Yuchi is a good girl. She would never do anything to hurt others." Yuchi smiled through her tears. That smile was like the sun piercing through the clouds. It was dazzling and beautiful. Zhang Tianhao was momentarily dazed. His expression became gentler. "Yuchi, I'll send you back to the dormitory. Change into a new set of clothes. Be careful not to catch a cold." Yuchi didn't reject him. She put on an expression of being touched, but deliberately restrained herself. She appeared reserved, but at the same time, she revealed her special feelings for him. Zhang Tianhao naturally noticed this, and a surge of joy welled up in his heart. It seemed that he would soon conquer this rich young lady. It was the same in his previous life. When Yuchi was teased and walked out of the bathroom drenched, Zhang Tianhao appeared like a savior. He said that he believed in her. He said that he would protect her and not let her be bullied again. At an angle that Zhang Tianhao could not see, Yuchi's lips curled into a strange smile. "Since you like to be a hero so much, I'll let you be as much as you want." In less than half an hour, the news of the student council president, Zhang Tianhao, sending Yuchi back to the female dormitory spread all over the school's intranet. There was also a post titled, "Mr. President, you're busy playing around with feelings. Does your mother know?" The post was pushed to the top of the forum. The post had pictures and the truth. There were pictures of Zhang Tianhao and Yi Zissou having a passionate conversation. There was also a shot of Zhang Tianhao putting on a jacket for Yuchi. The comments below the post were divided into two factions. One faction was Zhang Tianhao's die-hard fans. They scolded Yuchi and Yi Zissou for being shameless enough to seduce their president. The other faction came out of nowhere and scolded Zhang Tianhao for being shameless and walking between the two beauties. In the end, the mysterious faction overwhelmed the die-hard fans. All of the posts scolding Zhang Tianhao sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. It even alarmed the school leaders, who gave Zhang Tianhao a warning and criticism. Yi Zissou looked at the intimate photos of Zhang Tianhao and Yuchi. She was so angry that she almost crushed her silver teeth. That slut Yuchi actually seduced her senior Tianhao. She was too hateful. Why didn't she just die? Yi Zissou's hatred for Yuchi grew with each passing day. It was endless. At Hongcha 866. Chapter 800. Yuchi sat in the car and browsed through the latest news on the forum. She was so happy that she thumped the steering wheel a few times. Then she beamed with joy and sent a text message to Lin Yushi. The photo of the toilet door was taken well. "Thank you. And the person you found who posted the post, help me thank him too. I'll treat you to a meal another day." She could have avoided the basin of cold water in the toilet, but she chose not to. She allowed those women to do whatever they wanted to her. Otherwise, how could she have waited for Jiang Tianhao to walk right into her trap? Dong dong. Someone knocked on the car window. Ji Yuqi lowered the car window and saw Gu Feifan's beautiful face. He crossed his arms and leaned lazily against the car door, looking at her with a half-smile. Ji Yuqi raised her eyebrows. What's the matter? Gu Feifan's long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed and he laughed softly. Yuqi, you're burning the bridge after crossing the river. You're too heartless. You make me so sad. Looking at his teasing smile, Ji Yuqi could not help but think of the past. In her previous life, Gu Feifan and she were both victims of embarrassing themselves at a ball. The difference was that Gu Feifan was originally a playboy, so it was not a big deal to have a few more affairs. As for her, her innocent reputation was ruined. Gu Feifan, who had been pestering her at the beginning, also abandoned her. She heard him say to his friends with her own ears, "I thought she was a chaste woman, but I didn't expect her to be so proactive. She's no different from the women I used to have. How boring." She did not hate Gu Feifan, but she did not have a good impression of him either. She hated those men who were flirtatious and only had brains. They flaunted conquering women as if conquering the world. She was expressionless and said lightly, "Mr. Gu, if you have something to say, please say it. If not, please stand aside." Gu Feifan clicked his tongue twice. "You're really heartless. Aren't you curious about who helped Lin Yuxi post the post? Aren't you curious about who found the group of people who suddenly appeared to scold Jiang Tianhao?" Ji Yuqi widened her eyes and looked him up and down suspiciously. He puffed out his chest proudly and combed his hair handsomely. With a proud tone he said, "That's right, it's me. I'm the handsome and elegant little white dragon Gu Feifan." The corners of Ji Yuqi's mouth twitched and she looked unfriendly. "Why are you helping me?" "Yuqi, Chi-Chi, it's cold outside. Let me sit in the car." Gu Feifan changed his expression and blinked pitifully. He grabbed the car door with his two paws and almost wagged his tail. Ji Yuqi couldn't help but think of the golden retriever she raised when she was a child. 3 black lines appeared on her forehead. She unlocked the car door and let the cute man sit in the passenger seat. He brought the cold air into the narrow car. He leaned against the seat and sighed with satisfaction. "It's so warm in the car. Chi-Chi, what perfume are you using? It smells so good." Ji Yuqi suppressed the urge to throw this person out. "Let's continue the topic just now. Why are you helping me?" Gu Feifan chuckled and his voice was as charming as wine. "First, Lin Yuxi is my cousin. She has something to ask of me. As her cousin, how can I not help her? Second," he twirled a strand of her long hair with his slender fingers and said in an ambiguous tone, "Jiang Tianhao wants to snatch a woman from me, so he should be prepared for bad luck." Ji Yuqi frowned. She really didn't know that Lin Yuxi was Gu Feifan's cousin. Impatiently, she pulled her hair out of his hand. "Did you also take credit for the school's leaders?" Gu Feifan snapped his fingers and said, "Smart. I only gave him a little pressure, and the head of the teaching department immediately went to talk to Jiang Tianhao." Ji Yuqi raised her eyebrows in amusement. She suddenly realized that Gu Feifan was a little interesting. "Didn't you say that you wanted to treat me to a meal? I want to eat something that you cook. Let's do it today." He put his hands behind his head and leaned back leisurely as he looked at her with a smile. Ji Yuqi thought of the text message she sent to Lin Yuxi, saying that she wanted to treat them to a meal. She didn't expect that it would reach his ears so quickly. She smiled brightly. "Sorry, I can't do it today. Let's do it tomorrow." "Okay, but it's just you and me. Also, you have to cook it yourself." His slender fingers tapped the tip of her nose and then pointed at himself. "Okay." Her smile became brighter. She was looking forward to tomorrow's date. She guessed that Chen Tingfang and her daughter would be looking forward to it too. As usual, Ji Yuqi called her father and said that she wouldn't be coming home for the next 2 days. She would be staying at the Ji family's mansion. Ji Bowen agreed very much. The news reports were all over the place, saying that Ji Yuqi was the mastermind. There were also a few reporters who often appeared outside the Ji family's villa. He naturally wanted to protect his daughter, so he didn't mention these things. Although he didn't mention it, Yuqi was well aware of it. She was very grateful and touched by her father's protection. In the past 2 days, Yi Zixu had recovered her reputation in school, but she didn't have a good time at home. Chen Tingfang scolded her several times, saying that she acted on her own and shouldn't have let Xiaofan bite Ji Yuqi. She also shouldn't have revealed that Ji Yuqi had drugged her. Because it was too simple and crude, it would attract Ji Bowen's suspicion. Yi Zixu admitted her mistake on the surface, but she didn't think so in her heart. So what if Ji Bowen suspected her? In any case, Ji Yuqi's reputation was ruined and she had become the public enemy of the entire school. She was happy to see her being bullied miserably. Mom, I just heard Auntie Gong say that Xiaofan has been going out these past few days to help Ji Yuqi. I think, is Ji Yuqi up to no good again? Yi Zixu massaged Chen Tingfang's shoulders to please her. Ask Auntie Gong to find someone to keep an eye on Ji Yuqi. These past few days, she has been hiding in the old mansion. I don't know what she is up to. Chen Tingfang knew that Xiaofan was Auntie Wu's niece. She also knew that the aunt and niece were Ji Yuqi's people. Last time, when Ji Yuqi switched the perfume, Chen Tingfang suspected that they were the ones who did it. Unfortunately, she couldn't find any evidence and could only let Xiaofan take the blame. If she could get hold of their weakness this time, she would get rid of all of Ji Yuqi's people and replace them with her own people. Ji Yuqi bought some groceries at the market and returned to the old mansion. Just as she stepped through the door, she suddenly saw a figure flash past Shenji's room. It was so fast that she almost thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. She walked into the room and greeted Shenji as usual, pretending that she didn't know that there was a stranger here. She knew that Shenji had many secrets and that Shenji wasn't simple, but she believed that he wouldn't harm her. That was enough. Shenji was still leaning against the recliner with a book on his knees. His deep eyes looked at her quietly and his voice was indifferent. You've changed your clothes. Someone poured a bucket of cold water on me today. Fortunately, I kept some spare clothes in the dormitory. Her heart warmed. He looked cold, but in fact, he kept many details in his heart that were easy to overlook. He couldn't help but imagine her soaking wet and shivering like a puppy. His heart felt a little gloomy and there was a nameless fire in his heart. His expression became ugly. What kind of principal is your school doing? How could he allow bullying to happen? Ji Yuqi couldn't help but smile. Don't be angry. I did it on purpose. Those people won't be able to hurt me. She knew that if she didn't explain, the position of principal might be changed tomorrow. Shenji was really capable of doing such things. That principal didn't know that he had avoided a disaster. But the girl who poured cold water on Ji Yuqi was unlucky. 2 days later, she was inexplicably expelled by the school. Shenji glanced at Ji Yuqi. His dark eyes and slightly pursed lips were obviously unhappy. The smile on her lips became more obvious. He was concerned about her. That was great. They were finally no longer strangers. He suddenly stretched out his arm. She was shocked and subconsciously took a step back. He opened his fingers and there was a thin necklace around his middle finger. The pendant was a light blue sapphire. The bright and flawless gem reflected a bright light under the sun. It was dazzlingly beautiful. For you. His voice was like the sound of a cello, deep and pleasant. The sapphire symbolized calmness and bravery. It was his birthday stone and also his favorite gem. She stared at his finger in shock and suddenly didn't know what to do. He had given this necklace to her before, but that was the day before her wedding with Jiang Tianhao. Now, he was giving her this necklace. What did it mean? Her expression obviously pleased him. His brows relaxed and his deep eyes sparkled. His thin lips curved into a faint smile. Come here. Her throat was dry and she shook her head. No, this is too precious. I can't accept it. His smile faded and his eyes drooped. No matter how precious something is, it's just a dead object without a compatible person. He suddenly looked up at her with a complicated gaze that she couldn't understand. I'm leaving tomorrow. You can keep this necklace as a souvenir. In her previous life, he left without saying goodbye. In this life, he told her clearly and even gave her a gift. She didn't know why he had changed so much. She knew that he was a stubborn person. Once he made a decision, no one could change it. If he wanted to give someone a gift, he would have 100 ways to make it impossible for them to reject him. She also couldn't reject him. She walked in front of him and squatted down to look at him at eye level. She saw a small version of herself and only herself in his obsidian eyes. His fingers reached to the back of her neck and skillfully fastened the necklace. He looked at it seriously and suddenly smiled. "It's very beautiful. It suits you very well." She smiled back. "Thank you." As usual, they ate quietly. After the meal, they strolled around the courtyard and chatted. Most of the time, it was Wuxia talking. He listened seriously and occasionally expressed his opinion. Neither of them mentioned that he was leaving tomorrow, but it seemed like they were deliberately avoiding the topic. After the stroll, they continued to lie down side by side for their afternoon nap. Wuxia flipped through a few pages of a book and felt a little frustrated. She couldn't focus on anything, so she threw the book aside and closed her eyes to rest. Hearing the steady breathing of the person beside him, Shenzhe opened his eyes and turned his head. Her petite body was curled up under the blanket. She was like a small ball, like a caterpillar. Her fluffy curly hair was draped over the pillow, making her jade-white face look even more exquisite. His brows were filled with warmth. His slender fingers gently rubbed her cheek. His voice was dreamy. "Wuxia, wait for me." Beauty novel song Shu 566. Chapter 801. The next morning, Shenzhe left without saying goodbye, leaving Wuxia standing under the osmanthus tree in a daze. For a moment, her heart felt empty. After standing in the yard for a while, she picked up her phone and dialed a number. "Ruru, act according to the plan and bring them here." After setting up a trap for several days, she could finally draw in the net today. "Chen Tingfang, Yi Zisu, don't let me down." Wuxia's lips curled into a strange smile. Her eyes were as cold as the stars and were frighteningly cold. After class, Wuxia and Lin Yuxi were packing up their textbooks and chatting. "Wuxia, let's have lunch together." Wuxia smiled shyly and said in a rare soft voice, "Another day. I made an appointment with a friend yesterday to go to my grandpa's place." Lin Yuxi saw her daughter's shyness and became very curious. She kept asking, "Who is it? Is it your boyfriend?" Wuxia was slightly embarrassed. She didn't expect that Lin Yuxi, who looked like an icy beauty, was actually passionate and gossipy. However, this was good for her. It was very helpful for her performance. She pretended not to see Xiao Ren's bright eyes behind her, which were shining with the light of gossip. She blushed slightly and pushed Lin Yuxi's arm. She said coquettishly, "You're so annoying." "What boyfriend? We're just ordinary friends." Lin Yuxi nodded sincerely. "If you say we're ordinary friends, then we're ordinary friends. Don't worry, I really didn't see you blushing." "Lin Yuxi, if you keep talking, I'm really going to get angry." Wuxia's almond-shaped eyes widened and her face blushed even more. She looked like a drunk person with an indescribable charm. Xiao Ren's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. However, he quickly came back to his senses and patted his cheeks. "Bah, a black-hearted bad woman. How can she be as beautiful and cute as my Zisu?" Thinking of his goddess, Xiao Ren's heart surged. Right, that old witch Wuxia had an adulterer. It was such an important matter that he had to tell his goddess. Thinking of his goddess' gentle smile at him, his whole body softened. "Okay, I got it. Thank you, Xiao Ren. I'm very worried that my sister will be deceived by a bad man. If you hear any news in the future, please tell me." "Xiao Ren, you're really a good person." In the car, Yi Zisu softly talked to Xiao Ren on the phone. The smile on her delicate face disappeared, and it was terrifyingly gloomy. Yi Zisu sat in the car and waited for more than 10 minutes. From afar, she saw Wuxia and a man walking towards the parking lot. As they got closer, she saw that the man was Gu Fifan. Gu Fifan changed girlfriends every 2 to 3 days. They were talking and laughing, and their movements were very intimate. Gu Fifan even held Wuxia's shoulder and stared at her affectionately. The two of them got in the car and drove away. Yi Zisu sneered. No wonder Wuxia had been running to the old house these days. It turned out that she was hiding a mistress in the old house and living with Gu Fifan in the old house. Wuxia, you pair of wild lovebirds will soon fly off on your own in the face of disaster. Mom, Wuxia is dating a man in the old house. Hurry up and take Uncle Ji to catch the adulterers. Hey, Yi Shui, call a few classmates, the more the better. I'll invite you to the courtyard house in the old town to play. In the afternoon, we'll go to the karaoke together. Yi Zissou thought for a moment and called a few of Gu Fifan's powerful ex-girlfriends. Coincidentally, those girls had a conflict with Ji Yuqi. Catching adulterers together would be more lively. Last time, she was the one who made a fool of herself in public. This time, it's Ji Yuqi's turn. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. Her blood began to boil. When Chen Tingfang received the phone call, she was putting on a facial mask. When she heard the news, she was so excited that she threw the mask away and quickly changed her clothes. When she went out, she ran into Nurse Gong. Nurse Gong said mysteriously, "Madam, I asked Daru to follow Ruru this morning." Daru came back and said that Ruru went to the old house. There were men's clothes and underwear drying in the backyard of the old house. "I suspect that Miss is living with a man." "Good, Nurse Gong, you did a good job." Chen Tingfang was all smiles. She swayed her hips and walked towards the study. It just so happened that Ji Bowen was at home today. Let him, as a father, catch his daughter in the act. Let's see how he would put his face. Of course, the paparazzi were also needed. She wanted the whole city to see Ji Yuqi's lascivious nature. This was a very old courtyard, which should have been left behind from the Republic of China. The spacious courtyard was planted with flowers and trees. In the middle of the courtyard, there was a small artificial lake with grotesquely shaped rockery standing in the lake. The entire courtyard house retained its ancient style and had its own unique charm. This was something that couldn't be bought even if one had the money to do so. Gu Fifan followed Ji Yuqi into the courtyard, laughing and teasing her about the rich heritage of the Ji family. Ji Yuqi smiled and did not argue. In fact, the rich heritage of the Su family was her grandfather, who was a famous general, while her father, Ji Bowen, was just a commoner. Stepping into the backyard, there were many workers busy trimming flowers and leaves, repairing the walls and windows, and painting the walls. It was bustling with activity. Gu Fifan was depressed. "Didn't you say that we were going on a date? Why are there so many people? It's too boring." Ji Yuqi sincerely emphasized, "It's not a date. I'm treating you to a meal." There was a big difference between the two. Gu Fifan raised his eyebrows and said with a smile that was not a smile, "It doesn't matter. It's rare to have the opportunity to eat the dishes personally made by Miss Ji. I'll just treat them as the background." Although the building was old, the decoration in the room was a combination of classical and modern, which was both elegant and comfortable. Gu Fifan leaned against the kitchen door and leisurely crossed his arms, watching Ji Yuqi busy in the kitchen. She was wearing a white turtleneck sweater, a red knee-length skirt, a pair of cute fluffy slippers, and a cartoon apron. Her fluffy curly hair was tied into a bun on top of her head, which made her delicate face as bright as jade. Her pair of watery eyes flowed with light, full of smiles, beautiful and pure. She skillfully fiddled with pots and pans, like an angel who had mistakenly entered the mortal world. It was the first time he saw such a clean girl, her whole body exuding a fresh aura. At that moment, he suddenly felt his heart beat faster. He was very clear that she was different from the girls he had hunted in the past. He really, really liked her. When did it start? Perhaps, it was when he stood outside her car window and saw her successfully pranking Jiang Tianhao. She was overjoyed and started to laugh wickedly. Ji Yuqi inadvertently raised her head and saw Gu Fifan's strange expression. She raised her eyebrows in surprise, but did not think too much about it. She looked very calm and focused on cooking, but in fact, she was worried. Chen Tingfang and Yi Zissou, they should be here, right? Why aren't they here yet? Outside the courtyard, a group of gorgeously dressed beauties came out of several luxury cars, led by Yi Zissou. She pushed open the courtyard door and invited everyone in. These girls were all from wealthy families, but most of them were from the foundation of their parents' generation. They did not have a deep foundation like the Su family. Once they walked into the courtyard, they could not help but secretly sigh. There was a low-key luxurious atmosphere everywhere, and it was not something that could be bought with money. Humph, it's just what's there to show off? Compared to the Shen family's garden, it's a far cry. A girl named Zhu Zhu arrogantly raised her chin. She was the daughter of the municipal party secretary, and also Gu Fifan's current girlfriend. She was usually arrogant in school, and had always been the focus of everyone's attention. Now that she found that everyone's eyes were on Yi Zhisu, she felt uncomfortable all over. Zhu Zhu's loyal supporters immediately echoed, "Yes, I heard that the Shen family's villa was built in an ancient garden, and is worth hundreds of millions." Ying City's Shen family was ranked first on the rich list, and they also had a complicated political relationship behind them. The two young masters of the Shen family were dragons among men, talented and good-looking people. It was a pity that they rarely appeared in the high society circle, and these girls could only dream about it. Yi Zhisu was refuted by Zhu Zhu, and she was very angry. But when she thought of her important role in catching the adulterers, she suppressed her anger and smiled gently. "Our Ji family can't be compared to the Shen family. Let me show you around." "Hey, look, isn't that Ji Yuqi and Gu Fifan?" A girl with sharp eyes saw a man and a woman standing under the osmanthus tree. Zhu Zhu took a closer look, and sure enough, it was Ji Yuqi and Gu Fifan. The two of them were very close to each other, and Gu Fifan even put his hand on Ji Yuqi's hair. She was so angry that her whole body trembled, and like a grumpy heifer, she rushed towards the two of them, and forgot about her ladylike etiquette. "Ji Yuqi, you bitch! How dare you seduce my boyfriend?" Zhu Zhu rushed in front of the two, raised her arm, and slapped Ji Yuqi's cheek. "Zhu Zhu, don't mess around." Gu Fifan's face was ugly, and he grabbed Zhu Zhu's wrist tightly, so that her slap didn't go down. "Let go of me." "Gu Fifan, how can you do this? I am your girlfriend, and you are helping that bitch." Zhu Zhu was so angry that her eyes turned red. Since childhood, she was a proud princess in the eyes of the boys. She thought that she was the one who ended Gu Fifan's single life. She didn't expect that he actually cheated on her, and with her most hated Ji Yuqi. Hateful, too hateful. Gu Fifan squeezed her wrist harder, and his face was livid. He was really blind. How could he associate with such a vulgar, rude, big-breasted, brainless woman? It was simply the shame of his life. He shook her off and coldly said, "The 3-day shelf life has passed, let's break up." "Zhu Zhu, I warn you, don't go against Yuqi. Don't think that I don't know on the school forum. The one who scolded her the most fiercely is you." Zhu Zhu was thrown back several steps by him, and almost fell down. Fortunately, she was supported by Yi Zhisu. She shook off Yi Zhisu's hand and angrily said, "Gu Fifan, you dare to treat me like this, I will make you and that bitch regret it." Gu Fifan indifferently raised his chin, and with a look of disdain he said, "Okay, I'll wait and see." Zhu Zhu angrily stomped her feet. She couldn't get any advantage in front of Gu Fifan, so she turned her spearhead to Ji Yuqi. "Ji Yuqi, you bitch, it's not enough that you poisoned your own sister, but you also want to steal your classmate's boyfriend. Do you have any sense of shame? Are you still human?" Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.